I'm Willy D. How we doing?
I'm doing well. I like the decision. I'm feeling good about the Preds win, so let's get it going.
Exactly. The Predators get a win last night over the Blue Jackets, 2-1. Nick Keyser, how we doing?
We're vibing. We're vibing, guys.
Vibing. Let's get it. The Titans have found their new general manager, hiring Rand Carthon, the director of player personnel from the San Francisco 49ers. And I have so a million thoughts about this. And I think overall, when I first heard the news, I was shocked in the best way possible. I was surprised. I fully expected the Titans, and I think we all did. I expected Ryan Cowden to be promoted from within. I expected Ryan Cowden to be the guy. I didn't think the Titans were going to go elsewhere, but I think it is such a good thing. I was pleasantly surprised when I heard that Rand Carthon got the job because it's a new, fresh mindset. It's a new set of eyes. It's somebody else that's coming in to the Titans organization from a really well-run organization in the San Francisco 49ers. I think overall, too, I was a little bit confused about the timeline. And the timeline and the process, I get at this point is pretty much a moot point. But we heard yesterday the Titans were finishing up interviews, and then just an hour after, they had narrowed it down to the final three. Rand Carthon, Ryan Cowden, and Ian Cunningham were all getting second interviews. And then a few hours later, then Rand Carthon was named the general manager of the Titans. So a little bit of a confusing timeline there. But overall, I was very pleasantly surprised to hear about the hiring of Rand Carthon. Your initial thoughts?
Yeah, I was surprised that they did it so as quickly as they did. Well, heck, it wasn't quick, but I thought they would have had found their GM prior to yesterday because of the timing during the season when they did it. And we talked about yesterday that maybe they want to, talk to guys, but their teams are still playing. So maybe the team is not giving them permission or whatnot. But obviously, Rand Carthon was given permission to talk with the Titans, and subsequently he ends up they offered him the job. He ends up taking it. He's been a part of some winning programs, whether it be in Atlanta when he first started in 2008, the Rams, San Francisco, and now the Titans. So you look at his track record. He has a really good track record of being on the right side of winning franchises. In the last decade, almost 2 decades for him. So I think this is a good hire. I don't know how much because I don't know if Matt Ryan was there. Was he a part of that whole regime that drafted Matt Ryan? When did Matt Ryan come in? Was it before 2008?
It was 2008.
Yeah, so he was sort of part of that group that, obviously evaluated Matt Ryan. And then brought him in, and subsequently we saw what Matt Ryan was able to do for the Atlanta Falcons. And then he leaves and go to the Rams, and we saw what they were able to do. And then now the 49ers. So hopefully he can bring some of that winning mojo or that championship mojo here to Nashville, Willie.
Yeah, I can't say I was really surprised. It's like I was saying, I was really hoping. I think we should say that this is a historic hire.
Yeah, it
right?
is.
And I'm
yes.
really excited about that part of it, and I hope this is the right guy. I grew up watching his dad, Maurice Carthon. You remember him?
Yes.
He was sort of an unheralded but key Bill Parcells guy, right? He was
fullback.
The quintessential Bill Parcells role player, fullback for Joe Morris, some of those great Giants teams of the 80s. If you wind it back a little further, I was a junior high kid. The New Jersey Generals came down to Winter Park, Florida, with Brian Sipe. Remember Brian Sipe?
Yes.
Herschel Walker.
Yes.
And Maurice Carthon, a really good USFL team at the time. They played an exhibition game at my high school field. I got to be a ball boy. I got all their autographs. And it was just an eye-opening thing. But I remember I followed that team. I watched a lot of USFL. I had nothing to do. As a teenager.
USFL was a good league back then.
And it was on in the spring, and their games were always on. So I knew a lot of the teams. And so Maurice Carthon had a great year. They played 18 games. If I remember correctly, Herschel Walker might have had 2,000 yards. It was close. But Maurice Carthon, I think, had a 1,000-yard rushing season in there, and then he went to the Giants and was the fullback. So when I saw the name Carthon, and I remember Rand Carthon played at Florida too. He was a good college player. Played a little bit in the NFL. So he's got a really rich background. He's got a lot of building blocks. You just went through them, right? He's been different places. It's not like he's just been in one place. So I think he's really got the good makeup. And I don't know him personally at all, but when I saw his name, that's the guy I was kind of hoping they would gravitate towards. And I think it was. I don't know how close it was to actually hiring Cowden. We all kind of had our suspicions, but I'm really thrilled with the hire. We'll learn more as we go here. I can't wait to just learn more about him.
Yeah, and that's kind of the tough thing whenever you're bringing in a general manager is, as a fan or somebody on the outside looking into the building, it's really easy to have your thoughts or your opinions on a head coach, a coordinator, somebody whose body of work you have seen on the field every single Sunday. With a general manager, you don't know exactly what happens behind closed doors. You can see the draft picks, you can see the free agent acquisitions, but whose decisions were they? Whose idea was it to look into certain free agent acquisitions or trades or whatever it might be? But D-Mase, you mentioned he started his front office career with the Atlanta Falcons. He was with the Falcons for 4 years from 2008 to 2012 after his short stint as a player. Spent a couple of years as running back for the Indianapolis Colts, finished his career with the Detroit Lions, but he started his front office career with the Atlanta Falcons. And Falcons' former general manager, Thomas Dimitroff, was on SiriusXM talking about Rand Carthon and his experience working with Rand Carthon. This was Thomas Dimitroff.
You hired Rand with the Atlanta Falcons, correct?
That's right. In 2008, he came into the scouting world. Of course, I mean, look, Rand was one of those guys, and I'm sure you guys probably know it. These are the kind of things a guy like Rand, you really didn't have to teach him anything. He knew football inside out. Of course, he grew up with his father, Mo Carthon, who was one of the toughest, best football players and a really, really good football coach. We didn't have to teach Rand. Rand was a guy who knew football inside out. Rand was also guys, followed the high school players, the blue chippers. I mean, he was passionate about what he did. So to be, joining us at a fairly young age on the pro personnel side, it was just a natural evolution for him and a natural entry into the league and the personnel world.
There you go. So while it's difficult, again, that was Thomas Dimitroff, former Falcons general manager, who worked with Rand Carthon in Rand Carthon's first stint in a front office with the Atlanta Falcons. It's hard for us to know exactly what these guys are like in a front office, how these guys tick, because we don't see it every single Sunday. What we can use, though, is the relationships that these guys have built. We know that the NFL is a tight-knit community. And there you go, Thomas Dimitroff saying he's just encyclopedic is the word that he used. That he loves football, he knows football, and you can see from his resume that he just continued to climb through the ranks. After his stint with the Atlanta Falcons, he went to St. Louis with the Rams, and also was a director of player personnel in the Jeff Fisher era with the Rams. Jeff Fisher will join the show in just about 20 minutes. Of course, former Titans head coach. He worked with Rand Carthon in their stint with St. Louis and Los Angeles with the Rams.
He was a part of that move, wasn't he?
He was part of the move.
Okay.
He was there 2012 to 2017.
Okay.
So the Rams left, I believe, 2015.
Yeah.
And then the Sean McVay era came in. I know very well.
What was that?
because
What was that like?
uh,
What was that like?
That hurts.
Exactly.
I know it very, very well. I was front row seat for that move. And then he was let go when the Sean McVay organization came in, and then that's when Rand Carthon went to San Francisco. So you can see he just continues to get jobs and continues to climb his way through the ranks. Thomas Dimitroff, former Atlanta Falcons general manager, saying they loved him. He was, he's a great scout for them.
Well, you never know, what job titles entail because, player personnel or pro scout, could mean different. Player personnel can mean something different at any other, organization or team. But it seems like every step that he's taken, one, it's been a step up, but then two, it's been a step at evaluating players. So this is not something, new to him. It's not like he was on, one side of the ledger, and then all of a sudden now they hire him as GM, and now he has to really get used to evaluating players. This was his life, being a player for a while, watching his dad play, and now scouting, and subsequently that leads to him becoming a GM. So, like Willie, I hope this is the hire that pushes this team forward, not just for this upcoming season, but seasons beyond. I hope it's a move that we believed it to be 5 years ago when John Robinson got hired, and we thought, man, this is a good hire. He can take this. He's coming from some good winning organizations. He can make this organization the same, and John did that. Now Carthon can take that mantle and continue to run with it. And I'm just looking back at the places he's been. They've been winning organizations. So that attitude, that understanding, that knowing how to go out and scout winners, guys that can come in. Everybody doesn't need to be a superstar that you bring in. They need to be a part of a puzzle. And it seems like wherever he's been, that team or that organization has done a real good job in those stints of having superstars, but also having those guys that fit the part of the puzzle that makes the team whole.
And I think you hit on something important is the 49ers are a very well-run organization. Mm-hmm. The 49ers are one of those teams similar to the Ravens that I look at like, if my football team is modeled after that team or has influence from that front office, I'm good. Mm-hmm. I know that I'm in good hands. So what did Rand Carthon do with the 49ers, and how successful have the 49ers been in Rand Carthon's stint? We'll get into that coming up next. And, of course, your phones, your initial reaction, any questions or thoughts that you may have on the Titans' new general manager, Rand Carthon. Jeff Fisher will join us in 15 minutes. Of course, Jeff Fisher worked with Rand Carthon in their stints in St. Louis and Los Angeles with the Rams. That's coming up in 15 minutes. Caroline, Willy, D-Mase, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
185! Every team needs a quarterback. 185! That's why we have
Hasselbeck, bootleg, rollout, toss, touchdown!
Tim. ESPN NFL analyst Tim Hasselbeck gives his expertise on all things NFL.
How that team is built, I think there's a lot to like about them.
Every Tuesday at noon, Tim with Caroline, Willy, and D-Mase. Presented by Red Spirit and Wine in Bellevue on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Hey, everybody. If you think mortgage rates are still super high, check again here. Rates have gone down to 5-month lows, so this might be the time to strike. Call my friends at Loan Pronto. Take advantage and see how low rates are right now. And it might be time to do that refinance you've been putting off for a while. Or it's time to get back to house hunting. Yes, that could be a tool you use through Loan Pronto. If you're like a lot of people, you've had way too much credit card debt right now, and you're getting fleeced with 20+% in interest charges every month. So you might be swimming there, or maybe your current home rate is over 6%. If any of these things apply to you, call Loan Pronto right now and take advantage of the rate drop right now. Loan Pronto is doing refis with APRs in the 4s. So get those credit cards down to 0, start the home improvement project, or get out of that 7% loan you were forced into last year. Here's the phone number, 615-499-5780. That's 615-499-5780, or go to loanpronto.com. Equal housing lender, NMLS 166-1781, subject to lender approval.
At Genesis Diamonds, it's not just a new year. It's a new opportunity to bring you more choices, more value, more ways to celebrate your love. So we've expanded our selection of exquisite hand-picked diamonds from a ½ carat to 15 carats, all shapes, all sizes, all at our famous no middleman prices. This year especially, we know price matters, and we're committed to delivering the best value every day. We've also brought in even more exclusive designer jewelry, new cutting-edge fashion-forward rings, earrings, bands, bracelets, pendants, things you can't find anywhere else. And of course, Genesis is is proud to offer a truly spectacular collection of luxury pre-owned Rolex timepieces. We have all the most popular models in stock with no wait list and no restrictions. Is this the year you reward yourself with a premier name and timepieces? Come to Genesis in 2023 and let our non-commissioned experts help you celebrate those important milestones. We guarantee the best value, the highest quality, and the strongest warranties and guarantees in the jewelry industry. Genesis Diamonds and luxury pre-owned Rolexes.
Middle Tennessee, you can count on an award-winning service team for all your home maintenance and improvement needs. Lee Company, we're A+ rated with the Better Business Bureau and trusted by thousands of homeowners in our community. Our team is ready to assist with all your home maintenance projects, heating and air conditioning, plumbing, electrical, appliance service, and more. Experience the convenience of calling one phone number for all your home maintenance needs. Call Lee Company today at 615-567-1000 or visit leecompany.com.
Anyone want to tell me what happened?
Did you miss any of today's show?
It's okay. It's fine. Don't worry.
Subscribe to the Caroline, Willy, and D-Mase podcast on Apple, Spotify, and other podcast platforms, or by going to thegamenashville.com.
All right, I'll give it a shot.
This is Caroline, Willy, and D-Mase on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Meanwhile, more good news this time for the Tennessee Titans. They have a general manager. It is Ran Carthon, the 49ers executive. There were 2 GM openings. Arizona Cardinals had one, hired Monty Austin for it. And then now the Tennessee Titans hire Ran Carthon. There were 3 finalists. There was Ian Cunningham from the Bears. There was Ryan Cowden, the in-house candidate from the Tennessee Titans. Then there was Carthon, who was the director of player personnel for the San Francisco 49ers, has been with the Rams, has been with the Falcons, really worked his way up. This is really cool. Ran Carthon was a guy, when he was like 10 or 11, he would scour the local convenience stores for draft magazines. He would devour all the information. Then he would do his own mock drafts when he was like 11, despite not having seen most of these college players. He was just that into it. Now he gets to run his own draft in Tennessee.
There you go. That was Ian Rappaport. Again, the Titans have found their new general manager, hiring the director of player personnel from the 49ers, Ran Carthon. And he has just been a football guy ever since the beginning. He's only 41 years old, been in the league for over 15 years now in the front office, played a few years in the beginning of his career and then started his career with the Atlanta Falcons. But as far as Ran Carthon is concerned, I have 2 really big questions that we're not going to know the answer to.
Exactly.
First and foremost is I think it's really good to look at the 49ers drafts since Ran Carthon has been in the building and look at how successful the 49ers have been. Ran Carthon came to the 49ers in 2017, and in the 2017 draft, they found George Kittle in the 5th round. George Kittle is a 4-time Pro Bowler and was an All-Pro in 2019. They found him in the 5th round. That's also the same year that they traded for Jimmy Garoppolo in the middle of the season. They trade for Jimmy Garoppolo. They win 5 of his first games when he took over as a starting quarterback. You look at the 2019 draft. They find Nick Bosa in the 1st round, 3-time Pro Bowler, is an All-Pro this year. Deebo Samuel in the 2nd round is a Pro Bowler and an All-Pro in 2021. In 2020, they find Javon Kinlaw, who's been hurt, hasn't really been a great return for the 49ers, but they also found Brandon Ayuk at the end of the 1st round, who has 1,000+ yards this season. Juwan Jennings in the 7th round, who has been a rotational player for the 49ers. He played in 16 games this year. And I think it's interesting to look at, too, Juwan Jennings, a 7th round pick, this season had 56 targets, 35 receptions, and 416 yards in 16 games. Treylon Burks, 54 targets to Juwan Jennings' 56, 33 receptions to Juwan Jennings' 35, 444 yards to Juwan Jennings' 416. And I know that Treylon Burks was out for a considerable amount of games this season, but you look at the return that the Titans got from their 1st-round pick wide receiver versus the return that the 49ers got this season for their 7th-round pick in 2020, and I think that's pretty eye-opening. And no, Ran Carthon doesn't have much to do with the on-the-field return that you see from Juwan Jennings or Brandon Ayuk. Mm-hmm. It's you have to give credit to Kyle Shanahan in the system, but still, the 49ers have gotten so much return, not just from the top of the drafts, but all the way to the bottom as well. So my question is, how much of a role did Ran Carthon play in the evaluation and in the drafting? what was Rand Carthon's role in that? Was he one of those guys that he went up to Kyle Shanahan, he went up to general manager John Lynch and said, you have got to pick this George Kittle guy. I think he's going to be great for us. And I don't know the answer to that question, but I do think that's going to be interesting to see what role he played in the drafts.
Well, I'm sure that Rand was able to do extensive scouting, whether it be on Kittles or anyone else, because these scouts are broken up in regions. And it seems as if Rand, when he was with the 49ers, he was their director of pro personnel. So director of pro personnel, I think that's more so the guys in-house than anything else, because if he was director of scouting, I think it would say director of scouting, which means he had, he oversaw everybody that went out scouting. And I could be wrong on that one, because like you said,
interpretation of it, and it's different with every single team. You're not going to know exactly what they do. But a pro personnel is you're looking at waiver wires.
Exactly.
You're looking at guys within the league. Player personnel, you're looking at both. You're evaluating college players.
Exactly.
You're playing a bigger role within the draft, and also looking at free agents, looking at the waiver
so
wire.
He was just basically, when he was with San Francisco, at first he started off as player personnel, and they must have
started as pro personnel.
Yeah, pro personnel.
And then player personnel.
Then player personnel, which means everybody. So they must have loved what he was doing from the pro personnel side, and then say, listen, we want you to be able to go out and look at all players, not just the pro players, if I'm reading that right. And whether he was the guy that said, I want this guy, I'm sure that, in evaluating these guys, whether that was your number one guy or not, I think all of y'all came to a consensus and said, okay, this is the guy we want, this is the guy we want, this is the guy we want. And even if he didn't have a huge hand in it, he saw the process go.
I think that's the more important part of it.
I think you don't have to necessarily be the guy picking, but if you're a part of the process and you see how, the great ones go through picking the players that they want, that's valuable lessons that you learn.
And you also have to have a good team around you, build a good team, know good people. I think that's really the bigger question, because we can go through the draft player by player and say, well, this guy worked out, this guy didn't work out very well, this guy was okay. I think every team has got the lists of hits and misses, but by and large, it's a successful program.
And what did you learn from it?
And what did you take out of it? Yeah, and now he's going into a different role. This is untested water. So, like, if he were a GM in different places, then that might be a little bit of different discussion. But he will be a first-time GM. He's 41. So he's younger than Mike Vrabel, who's a pretty young head coach to start with. So I think the other question is relationships, right? Building relationships. How many of his guys is he going to bring in? How many of Mike Vrabel's guys who are going to stay? I mean, is Ryan Cowden going to stay in his current role? How is Carthon going to work with Cowden, knowing that they both interviewed for the same job? I mean, these are all things that have to be built in that collective that we keep talking about.
And then
right?
how do they evaluate, or how does Carthon see this team, this roster, coming into it? Because there are going to be a lot of decisions that are going to have to be made, and some decisions might be some tough ones that maybe Mike Vrabel, before hiring Carthon, would have never thought to make. Now you hire him as the GM, and he comes in and says, just hypothetically, he comes in and says, you know what? I don't think maybe we should move away from, I don't know, Kevin Byard. Just for instance, I don't think he would ever say that because of the type of player Kevin Byard is. But let's just say, for instance, that's something that Vrabel probably would have never thought of. But he comes in and say, well, maybe we should do this because this is what I'm thinking 2 or 3 years down the line. He's not getting younger. He's a good player, but let's try to make a move with him now try to get as much as we can for him now, because after this season, might not be feasible for us, so we can get some for him now. And Vrabel might look and say, you know what? You're absolutely right. As much as I like Kevin Byard, as much as I believe he fits this team right now, moving forward, I don't think him being on this team is going to be advantageous for us, because we need to get younger, not older.
And that's kind of my second question is, what is that dynamic going to be like with Mike Vrabel? Because I think that if the Titans did decide to promote from within and hire Ryan Cowden as their next general manager, I think I would have interpreted that as, okay, Mike Vrabel is pulling all of the strings. Mike Vrabel is in charge, and Ryan Cowden is kind of going to bend the knee to Mike Vrabel. And that's no disrespect to Ryan Cowden. That's just how I interpreted the power dynamic between those two in promoting from within. I think with Rand Carthon, you at least are bringing somebody from the outside, somebody that's not going to just be kind of a yes man for Mike Vrabel. But I do think it's interesting, Rand Carthon coming from the 49ers, an organization in which the head coach has final say. It's written in Kyle Shanahan's contract that he has final say with trades, free agents, drafting, whatever it might be. And their general manager, John Lynch, is just kind of the guy at the top that's organizing all of it. So I do think that's interesting. Rand Carthon coming from that dynamic where the head coach is kind of calling all of the shots and the general manager is kind of 1B.
So, again, who else comes in with Carthon? Does he have some slots? Hey, I've got a cap guy that I'd like to bring in with me. For example, I'm just throwing things out there. Or does Mike Vrabel say, we got our guys. We got the rest of the guys here. It's just you, Rand. I mean, I don't know how that works, right? I would think if I'm the GM, I don't think that's a single-person job, right? You need scouts that you trust, scouts that you've worked with. You know, there's an infrastructure that's in place with the Titans. It's not like they just ran all the scouts out of town or anything like that, right? So these are the questions I have, right, as you try to build this new hierarchy. And it all starts with what you're saying, Caroline, who's the boss, right? Do you answer to me or do I answer to you? That is something that we don't know, but we suspect that Mike Vrabel's got a lot to say, right?
It was assumed that it would be a collaborative effort here.
But you can say that all you want.
I know you can.
But at some point, there's got to be a decision maker if you have a disagreement, right?
Amy,
these are big decisions.
Amy, that's what was said, right?
That is what was said.
Yeah.
Is that practical? Is that smart? I don't think so. I don't think the owner should be making big decisions on who your quarterback is, who your wide receiver is. I just doesn't make any sense to me.
Coming up next,
the owner has to trust that you have the football people in place to make those decisions, in my opinion.
And you would hope that Rand Carthon and Mike Vrabel have a working relationship where it wouldn't come down to Amy Adams-Strunk having to be a tiebreaker, so to speak. Coming up next, former Titans head coach Jeff Fisher joins the show. He worked with Rand Carthon in their stint with the Rams, both in St. Louis and Los Angeles. His interpretation of Rand Carthon and his fit with the Tennessee Titans organization. Jeff Fisher joins the show coming up next. Caroline, Willy, D-Mase, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
When you want all the...
Going in and the score. Blast the score. He risks one, they score.
And don't forget the...
Oh, what a stop. Sliding across to make the save. The backhander, nice stop.
When all you want is... Smashville. We have you covered. Hear every Predators game. Right here. We are your home for Smashville. 102.5 and 106.3 The Game. And the Game Nashville app.
Want to kick off the new year without any credit card debt? If that sounds good to you, you can do it with Loan Pronto's Express Equity line of credit. Wipe out all those credit card bills right now. Hey, Willy Donick here. Rates are down, and it's a great move to get on more solid financial footing for the new year. You don't have to do a full home refi. You can tap a portion of the equity you have and enjoy a rate that's a whole lot less than what the banks charge on credit cards. With Loan Pronto's Express Equity credit line, you can close in 7 to 10 days. You can access up to 95% of your home's equity. Use that money to pay off those high-interest credit card loans of any type. Credit cards, personal loans, car loans, whatever. Consolidate everything into one easy payment. Even if you did a whole total refi last year, you can tap the equity with this fast, easy program and keep your main loan intact. Call Loan Pronto, 615-499-5780. That's 615-499-5780, or go to loanpronto.com. Equal housing lender, NMLS 1661781, subject to lender approval.
Hi guys, it's Mark. Are you struggling with erectile dysfunction? Did you know that a major medical breakthrough is now available and it isn't a pill? Today, Wednesday, January 18th, we're running a one-day special you won't want to miss out on. Hillside Medical Clinic uses the most powerful form of wave therapy. This is a technology clinically shown to repair blood vessels and improve blood flow. It's backed by 60 clinical studies, including from Cambridge. If you're ready to regain the spark in your bedroom, today is your day. Call us now and you'll qualify for the assessment and ultrasound totally free. You'll also get a gift that can produce rapid and powerful results in the bedroom in minutes. You're going to love that one, guys. Trust me. And today only, we're offering 6 tune-up treatments to our patients free. This is an unprecedented offer worth hundreds of dollars, but call today and qualify totally free. Call 615-576-5000. That's 615-576-5000. Guys, put a stop to your erectile dysfunction and get your life back. Call Hillside Medical Clinic now to qualify. This offer ends today, Wednesday, 615-576-5000.
Now is a fantastic time to sell in Nashville, but you can't do it without the intel. And no one has better intel than the Gary Ashton team. You may be wondering, what is this intel I keep hearing about? Intel so you can sell your home without any staging or showings. Intel on where to find your next home so you can sell your current one while the market's hot. Intel that helps you win the buyer battle and cash in on your home equity now. Everyone else is getting the same information and competing for the same properties. GaryAshton.com gives you the edge with the best real estate intel in Nashville. No one else even comes close. Plus, the Gary Ashton team is the official real estate agent for the Preds. Get the confidence to sell your home and find your dream address without the stress. Call the Gary Ashton team with RE/MAX Advantage today at 615-301-1650 or visit GaryAshton.com. And remember, don't sell without the intel.
Can't get enough Vanderbilt basketball?
Intercepted right all by himself for a one-hand flush.
Your home for the Commodores is 93.3 Classic Hits.
Put it up. It's good. Count it.
Join Coach Jerry Stackhouse and his team on their journey through the SEC.
Pulls a trigger. Yes, from 3.
Check out Vandy Hoops on 93.3 Classic Hits and the Classic Hits app.
This is Greg McElroy, and you're listening to Nashville's best sports talk, ESPN 102.5 The Game.
Caroline, Willy, D-Mase, 102.5, 106.3 The Game, and the Game Nashville app. Again, the Titans have found their new general manager, hiring the San Francisco director of player personnel, Ran Carthon. And joining us now is Jeff Fisher, who knows Ran Carthon very well, knows the Tennessee Titans very well. Of course, former head coach of the Tennessee Titans and former head coach of the St. Louis and the Los Angeles Rams, where Ran Carthon had a stint from 2012 to 2017 as the Rams director of player personnel. Jeff, your experience working with Ran Carthon and what he did for the St. Louis and Los Angeles Rams organization.
Well, I mean, I can't say enough about Ran and how excited I am, for not only Ran personally, having spent some really quality time with him over a number of years, but also how excited I am for the entire Titans organization. Ran is well deserving of this. You can sit in a room and listen to people talk and hear them for the first time and then spend a year or 2 or 3 with them, and you know which ones in the room are going to be special and have a chance to follow a very quick career path. And Ren was, in fact, one of those guys. And so I'm really excited for, the Titans organization, and the fans, and for Coach Vrabel and Ran, because, this is going to be a fun journey together. He's very, very talented. He's exceptional. And I really got to believe that Ran has had, and would never take credit, had that heavy hand in what they've done out in San Francisco along with John Lynch.
Now, Coach, you knowing him and working with him in St. Louis as well as L.A., what would be his biggest strength now as Tennessee Titans' new GM?
Well, he's got all kinds of experience, and to be able to come from the 49er organization, the success that they've had, he saw that come together. He had a hand in that. his strengths are his communication skills and his work ethic. I'll say this to you guys, all right? Technology has changed this game. Everybody's got a report on a player. There's all kinds of stuff going on. And Rand is one of those guys that's going to watch tape. He's going to watch a player. He has that unique ability to describe a player to you. You shut your eyes and listen to him talk, and you'll know exactly the player at the end of the description. He's got an amazing memory, recall. In this world of player acquisition and draft and free agency and all those things, you need to be able to have a good foundation to draw from. For example, he could be describing a player A, for example, and he'll go back and say he's got these kind of traits. He would remind you of maybe just a little shorter of this guy when he played for this team for 10 years and on and on and on. So he works, he communicates, he's behind the scenes. He's not that guy that wants to get credit and give credit, all that kind of stuff. He just wants to win, and he wants to work with people. And his people skills are extraordinary. I'm just really excited for him. You can tell by my voice right now. I mean, when, Jim Schwartz is getting hired in Cleveland. He's going to be named their defensive coordinator this afternoon. And I got an opportunity to share, some my thoughts regarding Jim. And, it's just, it's an honor for me to have the opportunity to reflect back and people that I have worked with, and watch them continue to be successful. This thing right here and now is going to be really good for the Titans.
We're talking to Tennessee Titans former head coach Jeff Fisher. He's in their Ring of Honor as well.
So he's forever head coach.
Yes, so
right?
forever head coach.
Like Chris
Jeff
Sanders
Fisher.
is a forever Titan.
Exactly. Now, Coach, the title Director of Player Personnel, which he was with you guys there in St. Louis, what did that job entail? Because you may have the title, but the job may entail something different at different organizations.
Well, it does. I mean, it's just, you're exactly right. It means something different. Basically, what Rand did for us is when you say director, you've got a GM, you've got a director, you've got a vice president, you've got all this kind of stuff. What Rand did for us is he evaluated players. He gave us his honest opinion of the players. When I get Rand aside, a couple of days before the draft, and we'd shut the door and go through the board. He knew the board. He knew exactly how the board was, and he respected the board. And when you say to somebody, Rand, would you take so and so over so and so if we were picking right here? And you go, oh yeah, he's gonna stand by his opinion. He's gonna stand by his statements. He's done the work. For a fact that he's seen this particular prospect. And in addition to the player personnel aspects, whether it's the draft or it's pro free agency and all those things, Rand, you could tell, had that unique ability to say, for example, hey, look, we got a starting corner here, for example. This guy in the later rounds going to project into and he'll be the nickel. He will challenge the starter. And if we can't, because of free agency or whatever the scenario is, re-sign our starter, he'll step up and we won't have any drop-off in production. So, he understands the process and he can communicate. And that's essential, is being able to communicate in a room where people respect your thoughts, you have command of the room, and you understand, in this case, which I think I know for a fact he understands, but it's the art of sustaining. Teams have struggled over the last 10 years or however long sustaining. They'll rise, they'll shine, they'll win a championship, or they'll make a run at it, or they'll commit to it, and then they have to start all over. Rand understands the importance of building continuously, working just relentlessly to replace and upgrade the bottom part of your roster, which is essential. You have to have people in place to step up. You've got to, just tirelessly try to replace and upgrade the bottom part of your roster. You just can't say, hey, we're good. Like our practice squad, we're good with Sunday inactives. We like our backups in these kind of situations. No, once you get to that point and you say that, you're complacent, and the rest of the league's going to, run right past you. So he's got those qualities.
Jeff Fisher is with us. Jeff, you've got good perspective on this. When a new GM comes in, and especially a first-time GM like Rand Carthon is going to be, he's 41. He goes in, and there's an established head coach that's won a lot of games. I mean, you sort of – I can remember Mike Reinfeldt comes in. You were sort of in that position. How do you start to build that relationship? I don't know who's got the final say, but forget about that for a moment. Just coming in and acclimating yourself to sort of an established group.
Well, I mean, there's been a lot of discussions regarding the people that are in place in certain positions. There's been change. People are moving on. John had his group of guys in there. Over time, Rand and Mike will work together to bring their guys in, to support to support the whole program with respect to personnel. Rand's not going to come in and with a big broom and a vacuum and just change things overnight. He understands that change is coming, but you have to be able to predict and have a sense of timing with respect to where you want to get to. I'll say this, and I'm not going out on a limb here, but Trent Baalke and Doug Peterson, their life just got much harder because Rand and Mike are going to have a relationship that, in my mind, will last for a long time. The rest of the division, what Indy's up against. Where Houston's at. Trent Baalke and Doug Peterson did a phenomenal job over the last year in putting that team together. We're still witnessing that stuff. Okay? But Rand and Mike are going to give them a run for their money right off the bat.
Jeff, you've had personal experiences with this next question, and you've observed a lot of situations over the years. But we kick around a lot of, who's got the final say? Is it the traditional model of GM over coach? There are a lot of examples of the other way, where the coach sort of has the final say. What's your experience of that? Do you have any thoughts on, maybe how it works on both sides?
Well, yeah, I do. I have thoughts on both sides. But to me, where you're going to have the best working relationship, the best possible scenario, that's where you work together where you have equal say. Okay? For example, we'll agree to disagree. If we cannot agree on a player, then we're going to go on to the next one. But it's equal say. It's working together. And the reality is this, okay? Mike Vrabel, come draft day, probably not going to be able to decide in the 6th round on which guard he wants if there's 2 on the board, because time is not given him. There wasn't enough time for him to look at it. So he's going to trust his staff and Rand to make that decision. Okay, but when you get into that, when you get in there early, and it really counts. Not that every pick doesn't count, but early on, they're going to do it together, and their board will be final, and it'd be a collaborative, collective effort between the two of them. It's not going to be, okay, I'm taking this. I want this guy. You want that guy. I have final say, so I'm getting this guy, and you got to buy into it. Stand up there on national TV, and we have to have everybody clap because we like our pick. No, this is legit. This is going to be a legit relationship between the two of them. Now, I don't know what went on behind the scenes as far as the hiring process, but I would have to say that I've not worked with Mike. I've watched Mike from afar, and I have nothing but respect for what Mike has done to this point and what he's going to do in the future. I have worked with Rand, and I don't see any reason why this thing doesn't flourish. I mean, you look back over time. I'm sure you guys have talked about it. You know where the relationships are. John Harbaugh and Ozzie Newsome in the past, and you got an amazing relationship going on in Seattle. And they're around. Okay, you find them in places where there's stability, where there's winning, where people understand there's going to be injuries and going to be an off year. But this relationship, the two that we're talking about, this has the potential to sustain for a long time, and that's where I'm really excited. I mean, I was when Rand came in, I'll never forget. The first time he got in and read a report on a player, I went, whoa. This is impressive. He's done his work, and he knows how to do the work. And, he's a good leader. Good leaders in the building, they lead with a soft hand. It's not a firm hand. It's not, I'm in charge, you do this. It's you motivate people in special ways to do the best they can. And, this is going to be an organization, not that it hasn't, but, on Sundays, everybody's in it together. And on Mondays, regardless of the outcome the previous day, you either all won it together or you lost it together. There's no finger pointing. If you make a bad decision personnel-wise, it's not a perfect science. It's hard. You got to get all the information. You got to plug pieces together. And if you make a bad decision, the best thing to do is own up to it, which the two of them, the two of them understand that, and they'll do so, and they'll move on. But I think there's a lot of good things to come in the future.
Jeff Fisher is with us. What is it exactly about Rand's personality and how he conducts himself professionally that makes you feel so confident that this Vrabel and Rand Carthon dynamic will be so strong?
He's really smart. He communicates with everybody in the building and with ease, and he makes people feel comfortable. And he's going to get the most out of people, and it's just the way he is. And he understands his lane. From the standpoint of when he was with us and with the Rams, he wasn't making the final call, but when, for example, posed the question, hey, Rand, if this was your pick, which one would you choose? Would you choose the guard from Stanford, or would you choose the running back from Georgia?
What about the wide receiver from Michigan State? That Mason guy.
Yeah. Yes. You have to find out. Derek, you got to ask. You might have, I don't want to make you feel old, Dee, but you need to ask him. You need to ask him if he had his report on you. So, and what kind of grade he gave you.
Okay.
But, yeah, go ahead and do that. And he'll tell you the truth. He'll tell you I didn't do you. I did way before
Last
so
one.
He's,
Go ahead.
Guys.
Well, last one for you, Jeff. Did anyone from the Titans reach out to you about Rand, or did you reach out to the Titans, given your history and the fact that you are a Titan, about your experience with Rand Carthon?
I can't answer that question.
Dang it.
Figured I'd ask. Jeff Fisher, former Titans head coach, forever Titans head coach. Appreciate you for joining us.
Let me just say this. Let me go on the record, okay? I won a few games here, and I don't know what that is, but they say I'm the winningest coach in franchise history. That record is going to fall with this relationship between the two of them. That's how strongly I feel about Mike, the organization, where it's headed, and this hire.
I think Titans fans will be very excited to hear that.
Absolutely.
Appreciate you, Jeff.
Thanks you, Jeff.
Have a good one, Coach.
Okay, guys.
All right, thanks for joining us. Again, that was Jeff Fisher, forever, former, whatever you want to say, Titans head coach. He says he thinks that this is going to be a really strong and successful relationship between Rand Carthon and Mike Vrabel. So we'll continue to get into that. And, of course, your thoughts coming up next. Caroline, Willy, D-Mase, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
Every Wednesday at noon.
No matter the down and distance and no matter the score, they're going to give him the football.
Outkick 360's Jonathan Hutton joins Caroline, Willy, and D-Mase to talk all things Titans and NFL.
I hope that they're not throwing flags simply because the league wants to see more of it.
He's got opinions and insights on the two-tone blue.
They are not as good at wide receiver and the playmaking department.
Catch Hutton every Wednesday at noon. Presented by Blend Bar with Davidoff Cigars and by Edley's Barbecue on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Attention all fire and safety line experts. Middle Tennessee's fastest growing fire protection company is looking for experienced service technicians, designers, and sprinkler system experts like you. Tired of working for a large corporate employer? Work for a company where you're more than just a number. Jarrett Fire Protection is owned and operated by Nashville natives and wants to invite you to grow with their amazing team.
Hi, I'm Jason Jarrett, owner of Jarrett Companies. I'm looking to hire experienced sprinkler experts and will offer a sign-on bonus of up to $5,000 for certified professionals. In addition to our great benefits that include a 401k match, PTO, and top pay with annual bonuses, we will also provide you with the top-of-the-line tools, trucks, and equipment that you need to grow your career. Our customer base is large and business is booming with many opportunities for advancement. Give us a call or go online to jarrettfire.com and apply today to become a member of our family and protect our community. That's JARRETT fire.com. Jarrett Companies, where we are above and beyond industry standards.
Joe Exoder here for FanDuel Sports. With the NFL playoffs are heating up, folks, and with FanDuel, every play is a rush. New customers join today so you can bet the divisional round with $150 in free bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet. Just sign up with promo code Joe102. If I'm looking at the AFC playoffs this week, I like the home teams. I like the Chiefs, certainly against the Jags. I like the Bills against the Bengals, though the Bengals have had some incredible luck in the last couple of postseasons. I think that comes to an end this week. You do whatever you want. You do it on America's #1 sports book. It's got all your favorites, money line, point spread, player props, but you can also combine them for a chance at a bigger payout with a same-game parlay. All this on an app that's safe, secure, and very important to me, super easy to use. So football fans, don't miss out. Place your first $5 bet. You get $150 in free bets, win or lose, with promo code Joe102. Make every moment more with FanDuel, official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Must be 21 or older, present in Tennessee. For a sideline real money wager only, $10 first deposit required. Bonus issued is now available free bets, expiring 14 days. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call the Tennessee Red Line, 800-889-9789.
Signs First, Nashville's foremost destination for event signage and physical media. Located just minutes from Broadway, our team of design, production, and installation professionals can help you create an unforgettable event. Stand out. Be different. Go to sfnash.com.
You look at yourself in the mirror every day and you can't deny it anymore. Your hair is not as thick as it used to be, and it's making you feel self-conscious. Hair Club is here to save the day. For 45 years, Hair Club has helped more than 500,000 clients love their hair and feel confident again. No matter what stage of hair loss, they can help. Hair Club can customize a solution just for you. For a limited time, get 10% off when you book a free consultation today at hairclub.com/chase.
They're insightful.
To me, you got a left guard situation you got to figure out.
Credible.
I trust this guy more than this guy.
But sometimes they just argue.
Why do you like the NFL playoffs? Those teams lose
I don't want college football to be the NFL.
When they get...
Robbie Stanley and Joe Rexroad are Robbie and Rex Road. Weekdays from 6 to 9 on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app. Having some fun in the midday.
Okay, that's really fun.
This is Caroline, Willy, and D-Mase.
It's a good source of energy because it's live.
On 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Let me just say this. Let me go on the record, okay? I won a few games here, and I don't know what that is, but they say I'm the winningest coach in franchise history. That record is going to fall with this relationship between the two of them. That's how strongly I feel about Mike, the organization, where it's headed, and this hire.
There you go. That was forever Titans head coach Mike Fisher joining the show. He worked with Ran Carthon in St. Louis and LA in their stint with the Rams. Ran Carthon was the director of player personnel when Jeff Fisher was the head coach with the Rams. He's saying that even though right now he holds the record for the most wins of any Titans head coach in history, that's going to change with the relationship with Mike Vrabel and Rand Carthon. He was just gushing about Rand Carthon, how smart he is, how hardworking he is. And one thing that really stood out to me is he said he's not going to be one of those guys that needs credit. He's not going to be one of those guys that stands up and says, I want a cookie for what I did. And I think that's important with this organization, and the culture of this organization is it's no front runners. No one person is more important than the team, and especially given the dynamic between Mike Vrabel and Rand Carthon, that he doesn't need to be the one that, gets all of the recognition. I think that's important with this dynamic that we're moving into.
I think it is. There were a few things that Jeff said that I thought was very interesting. On the good side of interesting, not the bad side of interesting. One, it was, listen, you're not going to get it right every time. So you have to go in, and the powers that be that made the hire have to go in and understand, listen, we're evaluating X amount of guys, and we're going to do it from the bottom up, in a sense, build up our roster from the bottom up. But every decision we make is not going to be a hit decision. There's going to be some moves that we make that's just not going to work out. But there needs to be consistency, meaning there needs to be more that work out that don't. And then two, just because we have a bad season doesn't mean now all of a sudden you start to rearrange things. If we are sticking with the process and you see the process working, and because of injuries or something else, it derails our season, let's hold on to that process. And let's not just throw everything away. And then the last thing he said that was really, I thought, really important. He named the franchise, and he left Pittsburgh out. I don't know if he did that on purpose or not. But no, Jeff, we don't like Pittsburgh, so he might have left him out on purpose.
I can remember him saying a few things over the years.
Exactly. But, he mentioned, San Francisco and the consistency they have. He mentioned, more importantly, the Baltimore Ravens with John Harbaugh and Ozzie and now John and DeCosta. The relationship they have, the consistency they built throughout that organization. They've had more winning seasons than not. You look at Pittsburgh, the head coach, GM relationship. It has sustained and it's been built, and you can tell why, because the consistency in what they're doing. Meaning Tomlin hasn't had a losing season since he's been there, and he's been there for 15 years, I believe. That's the model that the Titans should look to. The consistency and the winning. It all ties together. And what I mean by that, the head coach and the GM, everybody's working together for one common goal. And that common goal is to what? To win football games. There's a reason why the Pittsburgh Steelers they're not changing their coach every 4 or 5 years, or their GM every 4 or 5 years. There's a reason the Baltimore Ravens aren't changing their coach and GM every 5 years. Ozzie stepped down, not because he got fired. He stepped down because DeCosta was there, and it was his opportunity now. So when you look at those two organizations and you look at what the Titans are building now, and what you hope is that what you see from Baltimore, what you see from San Francisco, what you see from the Pittsburgh Steelers, you will start to see that here now. It started with John, and it can continue with Carthon.
615-737-1025 is our phone number. Outkick 360's Jonathan Hutton joins us coming up next. We'll get his thoughts on Rand Carthon and the power balance moving forward. We'll get into all of that. Caroline, Willy, D-Mase, 1025, 1063 The Game.
ElectronicExpress.com. We make it happen.
Hey Nashville, TJ Anderson here. With real estate listings, you have to read between the lines. Like waterfront property, more like a mosquito farm. Pride of ownership, they're really proud of the DIY job they did. Seller says sell. Really? I thought they just put it on the market for fun. My team at TJ Anderson Homes of Benchmark Realty is ready to help both home buyers and sellers decode the market. Oh, and if it says don't let this one pass you by, it's probably on wheels. Google TJ Anderson Homes, read our reviews, and see why we are referred for a reason. TJ Anderson Homes of Benchmark Realty, 615-432-2919.
Nashville Sounds Baseball is back March 31st. And if you haven't been to Third and Home on game day, you're missing out. It's the newest sports bar in Germantown that overlooks the Nashville Sounds ballpark. From the bar's spacious beer patio, you can see the whole Sounds game as if you were sitting in the seats with a ticket. No wonder it's known as Germantown's Bar with a Ballpark. Head to 3rd Avenue North for lunch, a night of brews, or to catch a game. Third and Home, open Tuesday through Sunday. Visit thirdandhome.com.
Now, your Game Center update.
The Tennessee Titans have officially hired former 49ers Director of Player Personnel, Ran Carthon, as their new general manager. He becomes the 14th GM in franchise history. Amy Adams-Strunk says he brings a variety of value experiences to our team as a former player and a successful personnel executive for multiple teams. Former Tennessee Titans head coach Jeff Fisher joined Caroline, Willy, and D-Mase and had a thought about the Titans' new hire at GM.
Trent Baalke and Doug Peterson, their life just got much harder because Rand and Mike are going to have a relationship that, in my mind, will last for a long time.
And the Nashville Predators wrapped up their back-to-back homestand against the Columbus Blue Jackets last night, winning 2-1 with goals from Cody Glass and Yakov Trenin. The Nashville Predators will head up to St. Louis and take on the Blues, and then return to Nashville for a 3-game homestand to end January. I'm Nick Keyser for 102.5 and 106.3 The Game.
For more, follow us on Twitter at 1025thegame or visit thegamenashville.com. Live from the Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical Studios. WPRT-FM Pegram, WPUC HD2 Laverne. Nashville's exclusive home for the Nashville Predators. 1025 and 106.3.
A gutty performance. Do your job.
And the Tigers regain the lead.
The Game.
A Cromwell Media Station.
Covering your teams and the news of the day.
Ladies and gentlemen.
This is Caroline, Willy, and D-Mase.
Who is pleasant to listen to.
With Caroline Fenton, Willy Donick, and former NFL wide receiver Derek Mason.
You are hands down my favorite radio personality of all time.
On 1025 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
With no further ado,
Caroline, Willy, D-Mase, 1025, 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app. We are live from the Game studio, brought to you by Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical. And of course, you can watch us streaming live on Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook Live every single day. Our video streaming is brought to you by Superbook. The Titans have found their guy. The Titans have hired Ran Carthon, 49ers Director of Player Personnel, to be the new general manager. And joining us now, Outkick 360's Jonathan Hutton. Hutton, your initial reaction to the news that broke last night, the Titans have hired Ran Carthon as their new GM.
Sounds like it fits the mold, Caroline, of the way that Amy Adams-Strunk went about the John Robinson hire initially, where she has the first wave of interviews. I know it was reported yesterday that they were beginning their second phase of interviews, but my guess is that those second interviews took place a couple of days prior, and were wrapping up as the news broke about who they were going to hire. That initial reaction is she had a great first impression, that those people that they brought back had a conversation with Mike Vrabel and then had a second interview with Amy Adams-Strunk, all in the same time frame, and she made her decision based on the collaboration of everybody that was announced that would be in the interview process. I think it fits the mold of Robinson, because she said that Robinson initially made the great first impression to where after the interview they looked around and said, we feel like that's the guy. But they continued to go through all of the interviews and then the second phase of things, and then made their decision and confirmed it based on all of that. It feels like Ran Carthon fit the description of what she was looking for.
Yeah, the timeline of everything that happened was so interesting to me. The Titans finish up an interview with Malik Boyd, and like an hour later, they have announced that they're moving forward with Ran Carthon, Ryan Cowden, and Ian Cunningham. And then a few hours later, Ran Carthon is named as the general manager. So it happened very quickly. And to your point, Hutton, whatever he did in his presentation, Amy Adams-Strunk was just blown away by. But we just had Jeff Fisher join the show, and he said that he thinks that this dynamic between Vrabel and Ran Carthon is going to be really strong. How do you interpret the powers that be, and who has final say, and kind of the power balance between Vrabel and Carthon?
I think they'll say personnel goes to the general manager. I mean, that typically is what happens unless they're going to give Vrabel a title that's over that. And I don't foresee that being the case. And if it was the case, he'd be involved in initial interviews too. So, yeah, I think personnel to the GM, which is the way it should be based on this structure. It should be a collaboration. And the background of personnel where based on what you can read on his background, what those like Fish or others that have been with him have said about Carthon, it sounds like he does a lot of things well throughout his background. And I think that fits what the Titans are wanting in their general manager, to collaborate with Mike Vrabel. And keep this in mind, too. It's all about scouting personnel, identifying the talent to bring in to the organization. But it's also about personality fit. And she's not bringing someone in that's going to be the anti-Vrabel. I think these guys will match up well. And I think the personalities, he's apparently an outgoing guy. So is Vrabel. Very professional in the media sessions that I've seen that you can find on YouTube or just hear people talk about. I think it fits the organization. And look, the first thing is they've got to figure out who fits what they're going to do internally. Guys already on the roster, and they've got to get to work fast. So I think the timing of everything fits what they have coming up with the Senior Bowl, with free agency on March 15th, but also determining what they're going to do with certain contracts.
We'll talk with Jonathan Hutton, Outkicks 360. Now, Hut, in talking with Fisher and trying to just, get some things figured out or get an inside look on who Carthon is as a scout, just as a person and a scout. Now, he's been a part of 3 other organizations, and it seems like at each organization, whether it be in Atlanta when they drafted, he was a scout then, but in 2008 when they drafted Matt Ryan, they drafted their franchise quarterback. Then he goes to St. Louis/LA. They draft who they thought was their franchise quarterback in Jared Goff, and then they do the same thing in San Francisco when they drafted Trey Lance and brought in Jimmy Garoppolo, but ended up drafting Trey Lance. So he was a part of the organization each time that drafted who they thought was their franchise quarterback. Do you think he comes in with sort of that same mindset of trying to find, I know what the roster looked like. I know we have to evaluate the roster, but from my history, we first got to get a franchise quarterback in order to, as we develop this roster, in order to try to win a Super Bowl?
Yes, he's thinking that way. I don't know if he's thinking that in year one, though, Mace. Mm-hmm. I mean, the examples are great, and you're right. They all fit together. But I know that didn't happen his first year in San Francisco where they went after Lance. That took a process and that took time. And the others likely did too, while he was, in different roles with different organizations. But the experience is going to pay off whenever that time comes. I don't know if the Titans are within reach of jumping up and grabbing one of these 2 guys at the top and giving up the draft capital that is needed to help supplement what that quarterback is going to need if you're going to win within the next two years of that guy being a part of your organization. Things can change fast, but they've got to initially stabilize what they have and determine who's expendable and who's not. And that starts with Ryan Tannehill and Derrick Henry. Once they make that determination, then I think the pieces to the puzzle come together, not easier, but they fit a bit better where you can see things slot in based on the timeline of an off season. And those are things that he's going to have to immediately sit down and start chatting with when it comes to Vrabel. Once Vrabel puts the full staff together for OC, but that timeline is not nearly as pressing for Vrabel as it was for Strunk and Vrabel to get their GM in place.
Now, what do you think is more important in saying that? Do you think, because Jeff, in talking with Jeff, he said, listen, you have to, as a GM, listen, we're going to collaborate on the top picks, but it's the bottom half of the roster that we need to elevate. So do you think him coming in it would be best not to get a home run guy, in the first round, even though that would be great. But building up this roster from the bottom, because even if you get, say, that home run offensive tackle or that home run cornerback, your bottom half of your roster is still not good.
You and I have talked about this privately and publicly. We agree on this. Keep this in mind, and this jumps out to me, Mace. And I want your opinion too. His background is more in pro personnel than college. So in thinking about that, so let's put the draft aside. You build your roster through the draft, I know. But in acquiring free agents and identifying players in a free agent market where you don't have as much time to churn the water like you do during the draft, but you have to identify who fits what you do. And most of the time, those guys are role players. Not always, but most of the time, those guys are the back half of your roster that you're churning. That is where I think his value will really shine through. We're going to spend a lot of time on the NFL draft for a general manager, and that's fair, and we should. But there have also been misses within free agent signings over the last couple of years that have not paid off, that are making and costing more money than what those draft picks are costing in overall capital for where they were selected. They've got to hit on a lot of different areas. But the first area that he's going to go to work is going to be in that wave of free agency whenever he determines, okay, here's where we're going to help supplement what we're going to do in the draft, because that starts a month and a half before he's going on the clock at currently pick number 11. So I look at what he's done in pro personnel, and I'm really intrigued to see what he does with his staff, which by and large the scouting staff will stay intact until at least after this upcoming draft. But he'll be able to add certain staff members, and the director of college scouting will be one of them. And I'm eager to see who that will be, who's coming with him, who's staying from this current regime. And then we can really start to piece together how they're going to go about delegating certain roles, with him having the final say over personnel and collaborating with the head coach on everything. I'm excited to see what he does in the free agency area, because they have an opportunity to really take it a different way, not necessarily in their culture, but I do think, it's more difficult now to find guys who love football. And that's coming from the college area, where if you don't like where you are, transfer. You don't have to really love competition. Just transfer and you'll play. I think it's more difficult to identify guys who love ball. And I think that is part of the crack in the foundation of the culture that Robinson had really built up, but this. And Carthon's got to do a much better job in that regard of finding guys that they say fits the Titans mold, then actually shows up and is that guy. Because the last few first, second-round picks have not been that guy.
So now that the Titans have brought in Ran Carthon, what will the Titans look like next season on a roster standpoint in terms of the coaching staff now that they have their new GM? I want to get into that with Jonathan Hutton coming up next. It's Caroline, Willy, D-Mase, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
The college football season never stops. ESPN college football analyst Trevor Manich joins Stillman and Company every Tuesday at 4:30.
They've got to do what Nick Saban in Alabama has done so successfully over the last 10 years.
Presented by Houston Clinic Orthopedics on Nashville's best sports talk, 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
When that door closed behind me and I was free, the main thing I wanted to do was just re-enter society, get a job, and see my family.
It's okay.
There's a new state office of re-entry in Tennessee, specifically to help folks like me get jobs. Go to tnworkready.com or visit your local American Job Center. Re-entry is a normal thing, and it's okay.
Brought to you by the Tennessee Department of Labor and Workforce Development, the Tennessee Association of Broadcasters, and this station.
tnworkready.com.
This week in Vanderbilt history, January 2016. 3 big wins for Commodore men's basketball to claw back to 500 in SEC play. First up on January 12th, a 75-57 victory over Auburn at Memorial Gym, behind a triple-double from Luke Cornett, only the second in program history. 11 points, 11 rebounds, and a Vandy record 10 blocks in only his third game back from a knee injury. Vandy completed the homestand sweep by beating Alabama 71-62 on Saturday the 16th, with Riley LaChance toughing out an illness to hit 5 threes and score a season-high 18 points, plus 16 at 11 from Jeff Roberson, and Damian Jones scored 13. And then on a snowy night in Knoxville, Kevin Stallings' team made it 3 in a row, hitting 13 times from behind the arc and defeating Tennessee 88-74. Wade Baldwin scored a career-high 25 in the victory over the Vols. 9 days, 3 wins, and renewed tournament hopes in January of 2016. This week in Vanderbilt history, I'm Kevin Ingram.
Hey, it's Hutton. Interest rates are rising, but not at Spring Hill Heating and Cooling. Replace your old unit fast before new regulations increase prices up to 20%. Get a new unit today at today's price and receive up to $1,500 off, or get 18 months of no payments, so the first payment is not until spring of 2024. At Spring Hill Heating and Cooling, all new systems come with a 10-year parts and labor warranty. Schedule your appointment now at springhillac.com. That's springhillac.com.
Attention furniture buyers. Shop Social Furniture's huge blowout sale now. Thousands of items are marked down in all departments. Many prices are slashed up to 70% off. Now is the time to buy your new furniture at Social Furniture's huge blowout sale. Our professional staff will assist you with your purchase. We have same-day delivery and setup by experienced furniture installers. Don't wait. Buy today with up to 60-month special financing and no money down. Shop Social Furniture's huge blowout sale. Now through Monday on Charlotte Avenue in Nashville. Save, 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 save.
Hey guys, the new year is here! And for many of us, that means making resolutions to get healthier and in better shape. But if you don't have that youthful energy, if you aren't sleeping well, if you feel like you're walking around in a fog all day, just resolving to get out of bed can be tough, let alone getting back in the gym. But you should know that there are many men feeling this way in these modern times, because low testosterone is affecting more men than ever. And low T can cause all kinds of issues like a reduced sex drive, poor sleep patterns, general fatigue, ineffective workouts. It can even contribute to ED. But the good news is that the medical team at the Tennessee Men's Clinic are experts in treating low T. Many men have experienced life-changing results. Testosterone therapy can help increase energy, workouts, make you feel more rested, and enjoy a greater sex drive too. So make a resolution to find that guy you used to be. Call the Tennessee Men's Clinic. Your initial visit is just $99 and includes a medical consult and testosterone panel. Call 615-208-9090 or go to TennesseeMen'sClinic.com. That's TennesseeMen'sClinic.com. Visit our website to learn more, including side effects. Treatment sex drive results vary.
We try to stay cool by being on social media.
I'm with it. I'm hip.
Follow us on Twitter at 1025 The Game and on Instagram at 1025 The Game Nashville.
Hey!
Oh, yeah, and like us on Facebook, too. Having some fun in the midday.
Yeah, it's awesome.
This is Caroline, Willy, and D-Mase on 1025 and 1063 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Caroline, Willy, D-Mase, 1025, 1063, The Game. Outkick 360's Jonathan Hutton is with us. Hutton, Jeff Fisher was with us earlier, and he said that Rand Carthon's not the kind of guy that's going to come in and completely clean house and completely, overhaul the coaching staff and the roster. But it would be naive to think that there won't be some changes coming down the pipe. And I look at the offensive coordinator position, seeing as though Rand Carthon comes from San Francisco, obviously a team that runs the Shanahan West Coast offense. Is that an indication that the Titans are going to stick with that system and not maybe go the Matt Nagy or the Eric Bieniemy, Andy Reid offense route?
Well, this is where I say Vrabel has the final say. Vrabel needs control over his staff, not Rand Carthon. And this needs to be a Vrabel-led, and it is, decision. Whereas you have a committee of people that were in a room with Amy Adams Strunk and the general manager candidates. In this case, I think it's a one-man show. Mike Vrabel interviewing who he wants to call plays. And we've seen the list. I'm curious about Bieniemy because if he doesn't get a head coaching job, I wonder if he looks around and says, I need to go prove it somewhere else instead of with Andy Reid. And if that's the case, they have a real chance to change some things up. And I don't think Vrabel's married to one specific way of doing things offensively. He would run the wing tee if he thought he was going to win, and he would run the run and shoot if the same result would happen. So I lean more towards Vrabel on that than Carthon.
Jonathan Hutton is with us from Outkick. So, Hut, I put myself in the shoes of Rand Carthon. First-year GM, first-time GM, 41 years old, a little younger than Mike Vrabel. So I'm wondering, something you touched on before the break, how many people do you think he brings in to sort of surround himself with people that he's worked with before, that he's comfortable with, and how much is he going to have to sort of just dive in to the existing infrastructure? Like, what's the balance there?
Well, I think from a scouting department, Willie, normally, you know, the Black Monday after the season is for coaches. That Black Monday, or whatever you want to call it, for scouting departments is the week after the draft when the hay's in the barn. So I think that's really where he can have the full gamut of scouts that he knows and is connected to that he wants to try to bring into Nashville and weed out, maybe that's a bad term, but weed out who he thinks is worthy of keeping and not based on how he views things. From the director roles, director of college scouting, director of player personnel, I think that's where his connections in the past will pay off, and he can bring in one or two guys immediately. I also think he probably will sit down with Ryan Cowden and others and say, hey, who wants to stay, who doesn't, and see if those mesh with, you know, his line of thinking too.
That's a great question about specifically Cowden, Jonathan, because as he sat there and interviewed for the same job. Now, remember a few years ago, Mike Vrabel was hired. Who else was interviewed? Matt LaFleur. Vrabel turns around and hires Matt LaFleur, who's been a pretty successful head coach now, you know, years later as we fast forward the clock. So what happens on that particular front with Cowden specifically?
I think it's very similar, and I'm thinking about that in mentioning him because Vrabel didn't know LaFleur. And Amy had mentioned to him, Amy Strunk mentioned to him, like, hey, he was really impressive. You know, you at least chat with him, and he did. He hired him. And I think, you know, in that regard, knowing that Cowden made the final cut of interviews, he interviewed for a second time, it means that whatever he had done in the first go-around made an impression to where he's one of the three that we know came back for a second. And I would expect, because he was selected to oversee things after they made the move with Robinson, that he, even if you're not retaining him, he's someone you want to speak with if you're Carthon to decide, okay, here's what was in place, here's where we're going based on what I've interviewed with and what I pitched and what I know they want and what I'm going to do, and see if it lines up enough to where you can keep Cowden in place, who's going to continue to have other interviews each off season, because he's done that now the last, 2 or 3 off seasons where he's interviewed for general manager positions. But Cowden could also be, you know, like I mentioned with Bieniemy, where he's like, hey, I need to branch off and go somewhere else with a different staff and try to work my way up the ladder that way. That could also be the case. But I do think he can leave an impression not only with the interview process, but with the new general manager that allows him to stick around if he wants to.
The historical part of this, Jonathan, I think we're all kind of excited about that part of it. And what you hope is that it was done seamlessly and Rand Carthon was just truly the right guy and the timing worked out. But in the big picture, I know there's a lot of people around the league that have to be super excited that Carthon, because he's been on the radar, right? He's young, but he's been considered one of these up-and-coming guys. And so you need jobs to open up, and here he is, the right guy at the right time.
And as I'm not mistaken, it was the owners' meeting where they brought minority candidates with them, right, from within the organization. Every owner could bring 2, I believe. It was one of the off-season meetings. And Carthon was one of those that presented something in that weekend or that day. And then Strunk brought 2 with her as well. But from the 49ers, I believe Rand was one of those that really left a lasting impression on everyone there. So I think that's also something the league will point to, and it's something that has certainly worked to what they were trying to benefit, which is to get more people in front of organizations that otherwise the ownership wouldn't have a clue is available or wouldn't know who to recommend or not based on asking permission for guys who are under contract with other organizations. So I think that also led to Carthon making an impression with several owners around the league. Strunk certainly one of them. But, keep in mind, like he's coming in with a line of thinking that has to mesh not only with the personnel side of things, but also just the personality side of things. I think that's very underrated in this, is you've got to find the right fit and tone within the organization under the roof, like the daily tone. And I think he also resonated from that angle. And so I think that and his qualifications more than anything earn him the general manager position today here in Nashville.
There are some people, Jonathan, that are very intrigued with his background knowledge of the 49ers quarterback situation specifically and wondering if there's something as the musical chairs happens or doesn't happen over there. And one way or the other, it's got to play itself out here in the coming weeks with Purdy, with Trey Lance, and whoever else is in this mix. And even his deep knowledge of Garoppolo, for example. What factor do you think that is going forward here? Do you buy into that, or do you think it's going to be Tannehill?
I still lean Tannehill because it's the easiest path without giving up capital, because I don't think, Garoppolo, to me, I would rather have Tannehill. He's available. Purdy, there's no way they're letting that dude get away. We haven't even written his story yet, but it could be remarkable what this guy ends up doing. We'll see. But and then Trey Lance, like what they gave up to go get him organizationally, to me that drives up the cost of what it would take to get them to throw in the towel on him now. So I don't think it's worth the price given the small snapshot we have of him actually playing. But he would know, he would have the internal background on knowing the scouting process and all that, but also, like, if you're that sold on him, why is San Francisco going to bail on him? I understand why the connections are going to be made. I just think it's a stretch to mention Trey Lance right now as a trade destination, given where they are in the whole process of developing him and knowing that Garoppolo has a no-trade clause, a no-tag clause, and he's a free agent immediately after the season. So he can go anywhere he wants to go, which is going to drive his tag up or price up a bit more. And I think the familiarity with Tannehill here helps him, even though it may not be the final solution, if that makes sense. I think I'm intrigued by how they went about identifying the type of quarterback they wanted, because Purdy fits the Shanahan mold, and it's the pairing of the two that I think make it possible for what they're doing with the last pick in the draft. And I think it has a lot of people, including me, going around looking at some of these third and fourth round picks going, what are they doing with these guys that make no sense based on who they're starting and who they're backing up? And now this guy's just a practice squad guy. I think there is more development there than what's going on around the league, and we're seeing it with the Iowa State product.
And to the point about Garoppolo, you would be moving off of Tannehill to another quarterback that I think is just as good, if not as good, as Ryan Tannehill. To me, the Jimmy Garoppolo move doesn't make sense at all. But there's another quarterback you didn't name, Hutton. Quarterback you don't have to give anything up to get. Tom Brady.
I think it's all that's on the table. I don't just dismiss it. But here's the thing about Brady. He led the league in pass attempts this year, over 700 of them. That's more than it just.
It's ridiculous.
He broke his own record. He held the record. He set the record last year for the most pass attempts in a single season. He broke it this year, and that tells you 0 run game, 0 offensive line, and an aging quarterback.
Yeah, and yards per attempt, I think, is noteworthy in there, right? It was very low.
Career low.
Just a couple of them.
Career low.
Beyond the numbers, it was really tough to watch a lot of those games. It was a struggle. They were winning games 14-13, 13-12. It took everything they had to get down the field in certain games. And they won a certain amount of them, right? But it was not the free-flowing I mean, you those yards do not equate to what you saw as results in my mind.
And look, for those that are saying, well, he's washed up, he's done. We all watched Peyton Manning win a Super Bowl in Denver, where I mean,
it wasn't because of him.
Rough shape.
Yeah,
rough shape. Tom Brady with a run game and an offensive line can win football games at 46. Now, with this offensive line, Caroline, no. I mean, it's worse than what he just came from currently. But he's bringing guys with him, and there are spots that make sense. There are connections that make sense. Vrabel is one of them, but it's not the best option on paper. But neither was Tampa Bay, really, whenever he selected Tampa, and he went and won a Super Bowl. I don't rule anything out, but the structure around why you're bringing him in needs to be more about the offense than it is about Brady. And that's never been more apparent than what we saw this year in Tampa.
Jonathan Hutton, Outkick 360. Appreciate you for joining us. We'll chat with you next week.
Yeah, always look forward to this. Thank you, guys.
All right, thanks, Ed. Have a good one. So the Titans have plenty of quarterback options. Now that Rand Carthon is in the building, Trey Lance is in the conversation, Jimmy Garoppolo is in the conversation, Ryan Tannehill, Tom Brady. We'll get into the Titans' future options at the quarterback position coming up next. And, of course, your thoughts, 615-737-1025. It's Caroline, Willy, D-Mase, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
Hey, I'm Matthias Ekholm, and this is Smashville.
Ekholm, his shot, he scores! Matthias Ekholm gets the Predators' third of the night.
You're listening to the flagship of the Nashville Predators radio network, ESPN 102.5 The Game.
To all our men listeners out there, I need to tell you something about Cool Springs MD. Over the years, more men have started to seek help for hormone deficiencies and imbalances. And Dr. Jeffrey Lodge and his wife, Daphne, along with that experienced staff, give men the treatment required to improve their quality of life. Cool Springs MD services have already helped many men of Brentwood, Nashville, and the surrounding areas. That's including me. I turned 49 yesterday, and I need all the help I can get. In Tennessee, with improving their immune systems, I can't get sick. I gotta come in to work every day. Energy levels, I gotta come in with the energy that Caroline comes in with, in cognitive functions and more. See, I gotta keep up with Willy in regards to that. They are there to connect you with the medical care you require to have a healthy and enriched life. There's no better time now to achieve a healthy lifestyle. So what are you waiting on, man? Give Dr. Jeffrey Lodge and Cool Springs MD a call today for an appointment. And here's the number, 615-486-3458. That's 615-486-3458. Or visit their website at coolspringsmd.com.
Calling a criminal defense lawyer or a divorce lawyer, you may think it's the worst day of your life. It doesn't have to be. If you have quality, competent representation who can guide you through a complex system, we can do that for you. Despite if you've been arrested for a DUI or a robbery charge, whether or not you're going through a divorce or a post-divorce, or demanding your fundamental constitutional right to parent your children. 615-604-6263. AmandaJGentry.com.
Think mortgage rates are still super high? Think again. Rates have plummeted to 5-month lows. Hey, Willy Donick here. Call my friends at Loan Pronto now to see how low rates are. It may be time to do that refi you've been putting off, or time to get back to house hunting. If you're like a lot of people, you've got way too much credit card debt right now, and you're getting fleeced with 20+% interest charges, and that's every month. Or maybe your current home rate is over 6%. Listen, you can get a quick, easy refi at Loan Pronto. Wipe out all those cards, close in about 14 days, and cut your overall expenses by $500 a month or more. Right now, Loan Pronto is doing refis with APRs in the 4s. So call now to take advantage of this big rate drop. Get those credit cards to zero. Start that home improvement project, or rid yourself of that 7% loan you were forced into last year. Here's the number, 615-499-5780. That's 615-499-5780, or go to loanpronto.com. That's 615-499-5780. Equal housing lender, NMLS 166-1781, subject to lender approval, NMLSconsumeraccess.org.
Looking for a career with purpose or have that passion for youth development? Boys and Girls Clubs of Middle Tennessee provides a safe place where youth gain the tools to learn, lead, and reach their full potential. And that starts with you, offering competitive pay and free after-school care for employees. Learn more at bgcmt.org.
Third and Home is Germantown's bar with a ballpark. Overlooking the Nashville Sounds, you can have the best seats in the house when baseball season returns March 31st. Pro tip, stop by before the game to watch batting practice from the patio and enjoy happy hour food and drink specials. The mouthwatering menu at Third and Home includes signature items such as wings, stuffed breadsticks, classic burgers, and hot chicken and waffles. Third and Home, open Tuesday through Sunday at 11 a.m. Visit thirdandhome.com.
TSU basketball lives on 102.1 The Ville. Join Coach Brian Petty Collins in The Ville and The Ville app.
Hey Nashville, this is Mookie Betts. You're listening to Nashville's best sports talk, ESPN 102.5 The Game.
I do not see one of those guys going. Because Kyle Shanahan paid such a high price to get Trey Lance. He got hurt. It's not his fault he got hurt. Brock Purdy came out of nowhere like an alien spaceship, dropped him off in Santa Clara, and he's been a humongous surprise. And now, what if Carthon likes Jimmy G? Well, then Jimmy G's going to be an unrestricted free agent. It seems to me the Titans need a veteran quarterback because Derrick Henry played really well, as you know. And you got to maximize what time he's got left as premier running back. And so that's why I think they need a veteran like Jimmy G or Derek Carr. And Carthon knows Jimmy G really well. He played well this year before he got hurt. He gets hurt a lot. And so you never know. He may think that's the guy we need. Vrabel may agree. Or he may say, we need to draft the last player at the bottom of the 7th round, like Stetson Bennett or Max Duggan from TCU, and see if they can rekindle some Mr. Irrelevant magic that they've got going on in San Francisco.
There you go. That was John McClain on Stillman and Company last night, and nobody is more plugged into the NFL than John McClain is. And he's highlighting what I think is really interesting is the fact that the 49ers probably have top to bottom the most stacked quarterback room in the NFL. You have Trey Lance, and then Jimmy G is the backup, and then now Brock Purdy, Mr. Irrelevant, is out there balling, looking like he's Tom Brady. So the 49ers are going to have a really difficult decision to make when it comes down to who their starting quarterback is going to be in 2023. If Brock Purdy takes you to the Super Bowl, how do you move off of Brock Purdy? You can't. That's exactly how Tom Brady became the starting quarterback of the Patriots. He was able to lead the Patriots to a Super Bowl, and they say, we can't go back to Drew Bledsoe after that. So I think that the 49ers quarterback situation is very interesting, and that's where the Titans come in as well, is that Rand Carthon knows those quarterbacks. Rand Carthon probably, I don't know this for certain, but probably has a personal relationship with all three of those quarterbacks. So if the Titans do decide to move on from Ryan Tannehill, there could be a Jimmy G that's on the chopping block. The 49ers could be interested in trading Trey Lance. If Brock Purdy wins a Super Bowl as the quarterback, you can't turn around and go back to Trey Lance, no matter how much real estate you traded to get Trey Lance. So I think the 49ers quarterback situation is very interesting and could, down the line, affect the Titans quarterback room as well.
Yes, it can.
It would. It can.
Yeah. Jimmy G is a free agent, so I don't think any San Francisco has any say unless they say, listen, we want to bring you back at X amount of dollars, and it's something that he just can't walk away. But I don't see them doing that. He's going to move on. But here's the interesting thing about San Fran and why I don't think the Tennessee Titans will be involved this year. And if they're not involved this year, I can't see them being involved in years moving forward because both of these guys are under rookie deals. They don't have to do anything with Trey Lance if they don't want to. They don't have to do anything with Brock Purdy. Together, their contracts probably total maybe a couple
about
of $1 million.
Of
exactly.
Aaron Rodgers.
Absolutely.
20 plus.
So it's like, this is a good problem that San Francisco has in the sense of, yes, if Brock Purdy comes out and even if he takes us to the Super Bowl, I would almost want to go down the road or venture and say he's the starting quarterback next year. But that doesn't mean that we all of a sudden got to get rid of Trey Lance. Trey Lance is still operating under that rookie contract. So if you want Trey Lance, show me how much you want him. Yeah. Other than that, he's staying put because I don't know, Brock Purdy can get hurt. We need someone that knows the system that we can rely on. So in come Trey Lance. Now, if Trey Lance comes back in and he ends up wowing everybody, then so be it. Now you got a problem. Which one do you pick? But at this juncture, they don't. It's like Garoppolo will be out the door. If you want him, take him. That's not none of our doings, but I wouldn't go down that road if I'm the Titans.
No.
He's not better than what you have already. And then in regards to Trey Lance, he's probably I'm thinking of this more so as a player. He's probably hoping because he's sort of reading the tea leaves. He's there. He understands. If Brock Purdy continues to play well, he's probably seen this young man. He probably in his mind, this cat's good. Like, I think I'm good, but this cat's good too. So he could be almost hoping that, please, if you do go or you're going now, please bring me, because I'm reading the tea leaves, and I don't think I'm going to get my starting quarterback job back because this kid is playing so well. But San Francisco's on the other hand, they're like, listen, we don't have to do anything.
Exactly.
Ran Carthon, if you want him, show me how much you want him.
Yeah, and they do need picks because they gave up a lot of picks to get Christian McCaffrey, and that's working out for them right now. If they lose this weekend to the Cowboys, which is possible, then all of a sudden it's kind of poof. We just gave up all those picks. Oh my gosh, what do we do now? Because they're on an unbelievable roll right now. It looks great. That McCaffrey is playing out of his mind. He looks like the Christian McCaffrey from 3 years ago.
Totally resurrected.
He's back where he went to college. It's the vibe is there. But what you described, Derek, I think is by far the most likely scenario. Garoppolo hits the market. Anybody wants him? Show me the money. You can have him, right? He's out there for anybody. There's no trade. If I were the 49ers, I would probably lean towards bringing them both back. Trey Lance has got a lot to prove. He's got to prove he can stay healthy. He's got to compete. Brock Purdy has done a lot. I can start the year with Brock Purdy. If he turns into a pumpkin next year sometimes, which has happened before, a guy goes on a nice run, and then his weaknesses are exposed over a period of time. And then I've got Trey Lance coming back, and he's still very, very young. And like you said, you could make it work easily cap-wise. So to me, that's probably the position they're sitting in. So Ran Carthon knows that. So you would have to really make a big pitch to get him. And I don't know. If I'm coming in as a new GM, I got a lot of things to address. I got my left tackle. I've got so many other holes on the roster. I've got to rebuild my offensive line. They need picks. They need another good draft class. So I don't know if I would give up several draft picks over the next couple of years when I'm trying to build my thing there just to get a quarterback who's unproven and he's been hurt, right? Even though he might know him better than just about anybody else out there.
And I don't even know if the 49ers have any interest whatsoever in trading Trey Lance, but I would look at it like if Brock Purdy carries you to the promised land. Titans need picks, but so do the 49ers. The 49ers gave up picks, to your point, about for Christian McCaffrey, but they also gave up 3 first-round picks to get Trey Lance. So they would be sitting on a cash cow, a young quarterback on a rookie deal, but they're going to want a lot in return for it. But the 49ers also love him. You wouldn't give up 3 first-round picks for a quarterback if you didn't absolutely positively love him. But we are right to your phones coming up next. I promise, right to your phones, your thoughts on Ran Carthon, the Titans' future quarterback situation. All of that is on the table. 615-737-1025. Caroline, Willy, D-Mase, 1025, 1063 The Game.
The sports talk doesn't end on Friday. Join Michelle Knezovic and Junie Riddle for Michelle and Junie.
Have they truly been tested yet?
I really want this to be a good game. Michelle and Junie, every Saturday morning at 9. Presented by Superbook Sports and the Nashville Jam Company.
I think Junie and I are going to go hit breakfast/brunch there after the show.
On 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
A remarkable performance last night by Kevin Lankinen of the Nashville Predators. A big 2-1 win over Columbus. They got the 2 points, back-to-back 2-1 wins. Tremendous goaltending for the Predators. Are on their way to St. Louis later today to play the Blues tomorrow night. Why do I say this? Because it's time to tell you about Lee Company. They're a proud sponsor of our radio coverage right here on 102.5 The Game. And when you go to a game in Smashville, there's still 3 more before the All-Star break, you will see the Lee Company display all around. Bridgestone Arena. Lee Company is there for all your needs. How about maintenance, home and at work? If you're out there and you've got that nagging maintenance problem that you have not addressed yet, you can get online right now. You don't even have to make a phone call. Go to leecompany.com, make that online appointment, and get the problem solved. Lee Company has got your needs, whether it's the back fence, whether it's your doors, your windows, whatever it might be. Give them a call. The phone number is also available to you at 615-567-1000. 615-567-1000 or leecompany.com. Lee Company, proud sponsor, Nashville Predators.
Hey, it's Jared from my official sportsbook app, the FanDuel Sportsbook app. The NFL playoffs are heating up, and FanDuel, every play is a rush. New customers join today, and you can get the divisional round with $150 in free bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet. Just sign up with the promo code JGM. The bet I feel safest about this weekend is probably Kansas City over Jacksonville. You know I don't think much of Trevor Lawrence. He's average. America's #1 sportsbook has all of your favorite bets from the money line to point spreads to player props. Plus, with FanDuel, you can even combine your bets for a chance at a bigger payout with a same-game parlay. All on an app that's safe, secure, and super easy to use. So football fans don't miss out. Place your first $5 bet to get $150 in free bets, win or lose, with the promo code JGM, and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. 21 and older in present Tennessee. First online real money wager, only $10 first deposit required. Bonus issues, non-withdrawable free bets that expire in 14 days. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call the Tennessee Red Line at 1-800-889-9789.
I wanted to know why some people who get COVID-19 get it so bad. I found out it may be because they have a high risk factor, such as heart disease, diabetes, being overweight, smoking, and asthma. Even if symptoms feel mild, these factors can increase your risk of COVID-19 turning severe. So if you're at high risk and test positive, there are things you can do, like asking your healthcare provider if an authorized oral treatment is right for you. Learn about an option at treatcovid19.com. This message is sponsored by Pfizer.
Some people got COVID and thought, well, that wasn't such a big deal. But you can get COVID again, and next time it could be worse, especially for those 50 and older, or with a chronic condition like heart disease or diabetes. But with an updated vaccine, you have better protection from COVID's worst outcomes. And that's a big deal. Find updated COVID vaccines near you at vaccines.gov. We can do this. Paid for by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
He's got big takes.
It's not that freaking hard. Hand the ball to Henry.
Small takes.
You have to defend your decision.
But all takes.
They win, they lose. Just invested a lot into this game. I thought it was the worst press conference.
He is Jared Stillman.
I guess I'm just not a very good coach, Jared.
Weekdays from 2 to 6, Stillman and Company. Presented by TriStar Moving on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app. This is Caroline, Willy, and D-Mase on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Caroline, Willy, D-Mace, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. The Titans have got quarterback options. Now they've got a 49ers guy in the building. Ran Carthon, Director of Player Personnel for the San Francisco 49ers, is your new Titans general manager. So now Jimmy Garoppolo is part of the conversation, possibly. Trey Lance, if the 49ers should decide to go down the Brock Purdy route, which Brock Purdy's looking like a freaking rock star. Ryan Tannehill, obviously. Tom Brady's out there. So we'll get your thoughts on the Titans quarterback situation, as well as Ran Carthon being named the Titans' new general manager. We'll go to your phones unless you two have a thought.
Let's do it. Let's go to it.
To the phones. Phone line's driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Adam is up next. What's up, Adam?
Adam.
Dramatic pause. We lost him.
All right, Adam, call back. You know the number. One texter texts into the text line and says Carthon was part of 2 front offices where they trade up for a franchise quarterbacks, Jared Goff and Trey Lance. Could that scare him away from it, or does that just give him an idea of how best to do it to get your guy?
Well, I mean, it shouldn't scare you away because Jared Goff had some success with the Rams. Trey Lance, I still believe they think he's a quarterback that can be a starter in this league. Now he needs to stay on the field, but they believe he can be a starter in this league. So I don't think that ultimately scares him away from potentially going to get a quarterback. I think what would probably sort of move him away from that option is once you looked at the roster, assessed it, talk with the head coach, talk with your scouts and everybody else, and y'all come up with a consensus is maybe we don't need to draft one this year, but eventually we're going to have to go get one. So I don't think what has happened, at his previous stops will deter him from going out to get that quarterback. I think what would possibly put the brakes on it for now is him discussing the roster with Vrabel and see how they then proceed with the quarterback. If they want to go get a quarterback in the first round this year, or if they want to, try to get picks and possibly get that quarterback next year if possible.
Yeah, I just think every experience you have is a good thing, right? It doesn't mean that you get scared the next time, but I think it helps having been in that position. You've now been through it twice. You saw how the process went. You saw the good and the bad. And I don't think it's necessarily all about whether it worked or didn't work, right? It's just you use that to do the job that is now in front of you. That's how I would answer that.
Yeah, and with Trey Lance, they don't know what is going to happen with Trey Lance. Trey Lance could be their quarterback of the future, and he could win 5 Super Bowls with the 49ers, or it could be, Trey Lance is your starter for a few years, and you make the playoffs for a few years, and it's pretty underwhelming. We don't know what the Trey Lance era in San Francisco is going to look like. With Jared Goff, you could look at it like, look, we traded up to get Jared Goff, took us to a Super Bowl, and we decided he wasn't our guy anymore, so we moved on from Jared Goff.
You could do a research paper on that trade for both teams 100%. And say what worked well for the Rams, what worked well for the Titans, who won the trade. I mean, you could probably have a sports journalism class where you'd say, or sports debate class, right? Who won this trade? And you could probably argue either side, right?
Absolutely. And I think, too, look at the recent history with the 49ers. It's not just the 49ers being really bold in selling out to get Trey Lance. It's not just the quarterback. They also traded a bunch of picks to get Christian McCaffrey, and that is paying dividends as well. So Rand Carthon coming from an organization and from a front office that's willing to, that knows when to trade the picks and knows when to make those big blockbuster moves in order to help your football team. And one of them is paying dividends, and the other, we'll see. Back to your phones. Adam is up next. What's up, Adam?
Hey, I was trying to unmute you and I dropped the phone. I'm sorry. Yeah, so this is it.
That's a rookie mistake, Adam. We expect higher from you. Come on.
Yeah, that sucks, man. I'm sorry. So embarrassed. No, so check this out. So what I think of when I hear you guys talking like this, number one, Brady's not coming here. I would not.
Why?
That's like because that's like going from like an executive level down to a line worker, man. Like, it's just nobody would do that.
You think that the Bucks are an executive level?
What I'm saying is, like, if I'm picturing it as like a regular person job, that's somebody at McDonald's that wears a suit and then goes and works on the line. Is what it feels like to me, because it's such a step back coming to the Titans organization where you have to completely start over. I would say no. I don't know. It could happen. I would say no. I think Jimmy G's our next quarterback.
Why?
And because
Jimmy G.
Deion Lewis and Stephen Gostkowski and Butler and all these dudes that come from the Patriots with J-Rob, these guys like to do that. They like to implement their guys. And everything that I've seen from Jimmy G, like, I love. And not just the physical stuff. Some of the physical stuff he's got limitations of what he could do. But, like, how many quarterbacks have you ever seen be put through the situation that Jimmy G was put in and handle it the way he handled it? Like, he's a great professional. I think Carthon's going to want to bring somebody like that with him, and I think he'll make him look good. So I think Jimmy G is going to be our quarterback.
Yeah, thanks for your call, Adam.
Thanks, Adam.
I don't see the advantage of bringing Jimmy Garoppolo in. I don't. Mm-hmm. I think that I view Jimmy Garoppolo and Ryan Tannehill as like the same tier of quarterback, if not Ryan Tannehill even above Jimmy Garoppolo. I know he brought the 49ers to a Super Bowl, but how much of that is Jimmy Garoppolo and how much of that was the pieces around him in a system coached by one of the best offensive minds in football, in Kyle Shanahan? I don't view Jimmy Garoppolo as a step up, and I don't think that Rand Carthon would bring in his guy in Jimmy Garoppolo just because.
It would to me, it would almost, in a sense, be a lateral move if you go from Ryan Tannehill to Jimmy Garoppolo. Now, if they were hiring, an offensive coordinator from that staff. We all know Kyle calls the plays and everything else. But if they were to hire, I don't know who's the second in command there in regards to offensive coordinator, who they gave the title to. But say if Carthon was to say, okay, Vrabel, this is the guy that maybe you should look at, and Vrabel looks at the guy and say, you know what, I want to hire him, and he comes along. I can see in a scenario that if that happens, then to me there is a chance of Jimmy Garoppolo coming with the offensive coordinator. Why? Because they know each other, run the offense. He feels comfortable. You won't have to sort of take your quarterback through the offense in the whole off season. You got somebody that already knows it in Jimmy Garoppolo. So if that was the case, then yeah, I think there would be a higher probability that Garoppolo comes. But because it's Carthon who was in upper management, I can't see Jimmy G coming with Carthon. I just can't see it because, frankly, I don't think. Well, he could have been a part of the group that helped sign Jimmy Garoppolo to San Francisco, but I still can't. If it's the offensive coordinator, it's more of a likely scenario, yes. But because now it's Carthon coming and being GM, I can't see that being a feasible move for the Titans.
Yeah. I'm no on Jimmy G. It's not happening. Not going to happen.
No. It wouldn't make
any
sense.
The cost of doing that move, getting rid of Tannehill to get Garoppolo, to me, is just not enough of a net gain.
It doesn't make
Even
any
if you
sense.
believe Garoppolo might be a little bit better, it's just the money doesn't work, I don't think.
It doesn't. It just doesn't make sense.
You've got the bird in hand.
You have a quarterback, and I would say the only way that the Titans move off of Tannehill is if you upgrade. Whether that's in the draft or whether that's, a Brady, whether that's an Aaron Rodgers, and whether you want that to happen or think it's going to happen, it's still a possibility that's on the table. But moving off of Tannehill to go to a Derek Carr or a Jimmy Garoppolo or a Baker Mayfield, at that point, you're just moving things around just to move things around. It doesn't actually benefit your football team in any way. 615-737-1025 is our phone number. Coming up next, the Instagram story heard round Nashville. What does it mean? We'll get into that coming up next. It's Caroline, Willy, D-Mase, 1025, 1063 The Game.
Stuck at work without a radio?
Wait a minute. Disastrous.
I hate that.
It's got to be there.
That's okay. Download the Game Nashville app or go to thegamenashville.com and listen live. We are Nashville's best sports talk, 1025 and 1063 The Game.
Yeah, before next break.
ElectronicExpress.com. We make it happen.
At Genesis Diamonds, it's not just a new year. It's a new opportunity to bring you more choices, more value, more ways to celebrate your love. So we've expanded our selection of exquisite hand-picked diamonds from a half carat to 15 carats, all shapes, all sizes, all at our famous no middleman prices. This year especially, we know price matters, and we're committed to delivering the best value every day. We've also brought in even more exclusive designer jewelry, new cutting-edge fashion-forward rings, earrings, bands, bracelets, pendants, things you can't find anywhere else. And of course, Genesis is proud to offer a truly spectacular collection of luxury pre-owned Rolex timepieces. We have all the most popular models in stock with no wait list and no restrictions. Is this the year you reward yourself with a premier name and timepieces? Come to Genesis in 2023 and let our non-commissioned experts help you celebrate those important milestones. We guarantee the best value, the highest quality, and the strongest warranties and guarantees in the jewelry industry. Genesis Diamonds and luxury pre-owned Rolexes.
Hi guys, it's Mark. Are you struggling with erectile dysfunction? Did you know that a major medical breakthrough is now available and it isn't a pill? Today, Wednesday, January 18th, we're running a one-day special you won't want to miss out on. Hillside Medical Clinic uses the most powerful form of wave therapy. This is a technology clinically shown to repair blood vessels and improve blood flow. It's backed by 60 clinical studies, including from Cambridge. If you're ready to regain the spark in your bedroom, today is your day. Call us now and you'll qualify for the assessment and ultrasound totally free. You'll also get a gift that can produce rapid and powerful results in the bedroom in minutes. You're going to love that one, guys. Trust me. And today only, we're offering 6 tune-up treatments to our patients free. This is an unprecedented offer worth hundreds of dollars, but call today and qualify totally free. Call 615-576-5000. That's 615-576-5000. Guys, put a stop to your erectile dysfunction and get your life back. Call Hillside Medical Clinic now to qualify. This offer ends today, Wednesday, 615-576-5000.
Prescription products require an online consultation with a healthcare provider who will determine if a prescription is appropriate. Restrictions apply. See website for full details and important safety information. Subscription required.
Hey guys, did you know there's a generic form of Viagra that works just the same but is 90% cheaper? And you can get it online? Just go to 4hims.com/radio. At Hims, you'll get a free medical consultation, discreet shipping if prescribed, a 100% online process, and trusted generic alternatives to the biggest brands at 90% off. That's right, get generic for Viagra, the same active ingredient as brand name Viagra, but 90% cheaper. It's the same medication you get from your doctor, but with zero copay, no expensive appointments, and no awkward face-to-face conversations. To start your free online visit, you need to go to this exclusive address, 4hims.com/radio. That's 4hims.com/radio for your free online visit. FORHIMS.com/RADIO.
Your Game Center update.
The Tennessee Titans have officially hired former 49ers Director of Player Personnel, Ran Carthon, as their new general manager. He becomes the 14th GM in franchise history. Amy Adams-Strunk says he brings a variety of value experiences to our team as a former player and a successful personnel executive for multiple teams. Former Tennessee Titans head coach Jeff Fisher joined Caroline, Willy, and D-Mase and had a thought about the Titans' new hire at GM.
Trent Baalke and Doug Peterson, their life just got much harder because Rand and Mike are going to have a relationship that, in my mind, will last for a long time.
And the Nashville Predators wrapped up their back-to-back homestand against the Columbus Blue Jackets last night, winning 2-1 with goals from Cody Glass and Yakov Trenin. The Nashville Predators will head up to St. Louis and take on the Blues, and then return to Nashville for a 3-game homestand to end January. I'm Nick Keyser for 102.5 and 106.3 The Game.
For more, follow us on Twitter at 1025 The Game or visit theGameNashville.com. Live from the Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical Studios. WPRT FM Pegram, WPUZ HD2 Laverne.
Bobby and Rex Road. Chase and Michelle.
Caroline, Willy, D-Mase.
Stone and Company.
Nashville's best sports talk.
Crank it up.
1025 and 1063.
Crank City score. On both sides of the one big possession. Touchdown, Middle Tennessee.
The Game.
A Cromwell Media Station.
Covering your teams and the news of the day.
Ladies and gentlemen.
This is Caroline, Willy, and D-Mase.
It was pleasant to listen to.
With Caroline Fenton, Willy Donick, and former NFL wide receiver Derek Mason.
You are hands down my favorite radio personalities of all time.
On 1025 and 1063 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
With no further ado,
Caroline, Willy, D-Mase, 1025, 1063 The Game and the Game Nashville app. You can watch us streaming live on Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook Live every single day. Our video streaming is brought to you by Superbook, and we are live from the Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical Studios. And hey, the Preds have a game tomorrow night, not a home game. It's on the road at St. Louis, and it's your chance to participate in Preds Pick to Click, brought to you by TJ Anderson Homes of Benchmark Realty and Superbook Sports. If you correctly guess a Preds player that scores a goal in the game tomorrow night, you will win a pair of tickets to an upcoming Preds home game. Participate in Pick to Click tomorrow morning at 8:45 a.m. with Robbie and Rexroad. So I saw this on Twitter yesterday. The announcement that Ran Carthon has been hired to Tennessee to be the next general manager, and everyone's giving their reactions and is very excited for Ran Carthon. And then I start to see the conspiracy theorists come down the pipe on Twitter. Trey Lance posted on his Instagram story, he reposted a photo of Ran Carthon with the announcement that he had been hired away from the 49ers to the Tennessee Titans to be their next general manager. And with that picture, Trey Lance posted it with 3 fingers crossed emojis. And that just sent Titans Twitter into a tailspin. People were thinking, he's saying fingers crossed, you take me with you. A lot of people were saying this means there could be a Trey Lance to Tennessee, conspiracy out there. A lot of people thought, fingers crossed, we can get along without Ran Carthon, that we as a 49ers organization are going to be able to, continue being successful without him. I interpreted it as good luck. Like, that's what the kids these days, that's what that means, is a little, fingers crossed emoji. That means you're my guy, love ya, good luck in your next endeavors. But I do think it's very interesting, the Trey Lance to the Tennessee Titans potential pipeline. because Brock Purdy is playing his freaking butt off. Brock Purdy looks like a baby Tom Brady out there. The 49ers look like they're pretty unstoppable. We'll make our official predictions this weekend for the divisional round. I think the 49ers are going to beat the Cowboys. I think they punch their ticket to the NFC Championship for the second time in 2 years. And if Brock Purdy does that, if he's able to lead the 49ers even to the Super Bowl, let's say the 49ers even win the Super Bowl with Brock Purdy as their starting quarterback, how do you go off of Brock Purdy? But then that leaves a really difficult dilemma for the 49ers. In 2021, they traded 3 first-round draft picks to get Trey Lance. That was their guy. They love Trey Lance. You can't not be in love with a quarterback and trade 3 first-round picks and trade up to get him. I think they love Trey Lance in San Francisco. But if they go with Brock Purdy and they're sitting on a cash cow in Trey Lance, I don't know how they don't at least explore trade options. I know that they love him. But how are you going to make the quarterback that you traded 3 first-round picks in order to draft up to get in the first round, and then he's your backup and he's sitting on the bench? Well, that doesn't make very much sense for an organization that has traded away a lot of its picks. 3 first-rounders for Trey Lance, traded picks to get Christian McCaffrey. The 49ers need picks. So I think that the 49ers, at least, if Brock Purdy leads them to the promised land, which is a really big undertaking for a 7th-round quarterback, but if they do, if I'm the 49ers, I'm at least looking at trade offers for Trey Lance. And if I'm the Titans, now that you have a 49ers guy within your organization, now that you have a guy that knows Trey Lance, and, he might not even think Trey Lance is very good, so it may not even be worth their while. But now they have a guy that knows Trey Lance personally and on a player level. It could be an interesting path to go down. Now, I think that that's a path that exists independently of the Instagram story.
Yeah, I mean, in theory, that would be an easy transition. A guy that has been involved with an organization that end up drafting who they thought or still believe is their franchise quarterback. So what went into trying to get him and then subsequently getting him, and you saw whatever progress he had made up until that point prior to him getting hurt. So more than anybody would on this Titan staff who Trey Lance is as a quarterback. But I think here's the difference with San Francisco and the Titans. San Fran, when they made that move, what was it, a year ago to get Trey Lance? It was 2 years.
21 draft.
Yeah, 21 draft.
Uh-huh.
This was an organization that had already established their roster. And they felt that in doing that prior to drafting Trey Lance, that Jimmy G wasn't going to win them a Super Bowl. They felt they needed to go out somehow, some way, right now in this window that they have with the personnel that they have, to go out and get their guy. They made that move, and they gave up future picks to go out and get him. Now, whether it works out or not, who knows? The Titans are not in that situation. The Titans don't have a ready-built roster. So you can do that. You can go out and try to get Trey Lance, and San Francisco says, well, we want, 2 first rounds in 2023 and first round in 2024, 2025, and then a second rounder. Well, if I got a roster that's built, and this roster I believe will sort of expand or overlap those draft picks that I'm giving up, meaning this roster is going to be good whether we have a first round draft pick or not, then yeah, I will make that, I will make that deal. But if I don't have that roster, I can't make that deal because I need my picks, So we're not in a position that San Fran was in 2 years ago where they can do that because their roster's set for the next 4 or 5 years. The Titans roster isn't set, so they can't do it.
They need layers. Yeah. They need layers to the roster. I agree with that 100%. I think that's a good point. From Trey Lance's point of view, who's to say what's in his mind when he does that? I do think he clearly has a relationship with Rand Carthon, right? I think he wishes him well, for sure. That is a given, regardless if there's anything else behind it. Who could blame Trey Lance for not being a little bit frustrated, right? I mean, he's got to be a little bit frustrated that this has happened. They laid everything out for him to be the guy this year, and he got hurt. So that's frustrating. And now he sees Purdy go in and like, man, I may not even be back in the saddle next year.
That's
like this is what's going to happen here. Like he's young, so who knows what's on his mind? Like this is the Herm Edwards, right? Herm Edwards for years has been saying with the social media guys, be careful what you do. Mm-hmm. Be careful what you do because it's going to be interpreted many different ways, right? We looked at a picture of Ryan Tannehill on a sailboat last year. We had a week's worth of shows, mm-hmm. right? We had hours and hours of programming for one picture that he did. When he posted it, who knows when he was on the boat, when he wasn't on the boat, but people came up with their own interpretation of what that meant. That's how crazy social media is. So I try not to read too much into it. But to Derek's point, I think for all that we've discussed about this, the chances that Rand Carthon, you would be putting so much into one basket if you tried to go down that road. To me, that would be not smart when you're coming in. When you need as much as you need to fix this Titans roster.
Well, that to me,
you're not looking for the cherry on top. You need a foundation. You need to redo the foundation.
That to me would be like on day one. That's a career. Like either your career is going to spiral very very quickly, or by making this move, your career is going to ascend quicker than what it has. Because if you're coming in as a new GM and you say we need Trey Lance, and if you go get him and give up the picks and he bring him in here and he's not worth the salt,
it's a move that could get you fired.
That it's going to get you
over.
fired.
Mm-hmm. It's all over.
It's over.
Yep.
Because that sets your franchise back even more. But if you go get him and he works out, you the hero. Mm-hmm. You got a job forever.
It's the nature of this business.
Exactly. So,
but there's more than one way to build a good roster. Yeah. Right. So I'm trying to figure out what are the different ways. I want to find as many ways as I can to make the team better. I want
the quarterback. I just want the quarterback.
You want the quarterback. Everybody, you got to have the quarterback. At the end of the day, you have to have it. There is more than one guy out there, but to put all your eggs on one basket and sacrifice the picks that it would take to get him, that's too much risk for me.
Well, you're gonna have to give up picks to draft your future quarterback as well. Titans are at 11.
Someday.
I'm saying if they choose to draft the quarterback of the future in this year's draft, you're not going to get him at 11. I don't see a C.J. Stroud or a Bryce Young or a Will Levis or whoever they may love falling to 11. So you're going to have to give up picks in order to move up to get that guy. So either way, you're giving up picks.
But I think it would take more to get San Fran's pick because of what they had to give up. It would take more to try to get him than it would. You don't necessarily have to move up to number one spot. You can move up to the third spot,
and you don't. Spot. But to me, you don't have to do it this year. You don't have to. You don't have to. Like if you really like it, I know you in a perfect world. In a perfect world, but you got to have the evaluation of the guys. You can't just say we have to have a quarterback. It's got to be the guy that you see. Yeah. That quarterback, you got to love that guy. Mm-hmm. Kind of like but like you said. The 49ers were in a position to say, and the Chiefs were with Mahomes, right? They had the pieces. They had the roster. Like, okay, we got to go get this guy. Now's the time to strike. And here's the guy that we really like. The Titans have a lot of needs, a lot of holes out there. It's Swiss cheese, right? We got to get the offensive line figured out. We got to have help over here. There's a lot of issues there.
If you want to go see Nate Bargatze as he goes from the Old Hickory to Bridgestone Arena on Saturday, April 15th, be the first one to answer Willie D's trivia question correctly.
Okay, here we go. Another simple one. A little history between the Predators and the Blues. My colleague Chris Mason played goalie for both the Predators and the Blues. But you have to name one other team that he played at least one NHL game for to get the prize. 615-737-1025. Chris Mason's list of NHL teams. I'm not going to give you Hal Gill. That would be a little too easy. He's played for every team, I think. But Chris Mason did not play for a lot of other teams besides the Predators and the Blues, but you got to name one that he did play for. 615-737-1025 if you want to go see Nate Bargatze.
and you must call in with the
Don't
answer.
text the answer.
We will not accept text, but the first one to call in with Willy's correct answer to the trivia question, you will win a pair of tickets to see local comedian Nashville guy Nate Bargatze as he goes from Old Hickory to Bridgestone Arena on Saturday, April 15th. Back into your phones coming up next, 615-737-1025. Caroline, Willy, D-Mase, 1025, 1063 The Game.
Every Wednesday at 8:30. Join Robbie and Rexroad for The Choice is Yours.
2 sports questions, 2 non-sports questions.
They'll answer a couple of questions about life and sports. The Choice is Yours is built by Jared Companies. You have a choice. So when you have a need for site and utility work, fire protection, concrete and asphalt services, the choice is simple. It's Jared Companies. For more, visit jaredcompaniesinc.com. The Choice is Yours. Wednesdays at 8:30 on 1025 and 1063 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Time to talk about Superbook Sports once again. Add this to your New Year's resolutions. Win money in 2023 with Superbook Sports. They have over 3 decades of sports wagering experience in Las Vegas, so you'll get the best odds anywhere as we continue the football playoffs. Plus, you can check out their special odds boosts and promotions over at superbook.com. It's that simple. Make 2023 the year when you win money from Vegas. Download the Superbook Sports app now and place your bets. If you're looking ahead to the weekend, the spreads are already out there. You just download the Superbook Sports app and go check them out right now. They're right there at your fingertips. The Giants plus 7.5 on the road against Philly. Jags are getting 8.5 on the road. Bengals are getting 5. Cowboys getting 3.5. Could this be underdog weekend? We will find out. Visit superbook.com for terms and conditions. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-889-9789.
Think mortgage rates are still super high? Think again. Rates have plummeted to 5-month lows. Hey, Willy Donick here. Call my friends at Loan Pronto now to see how low rates are. It may be time to do that refi you've been putting off, or time to get back to house hunting. If you're like a lot of people, you've got way too much credit card debt right now, and you're getting fleeced with 20+% interest charges, and that's every month. Or maybe your current home rate is over 6%. Listen, you can get a quick, easy refi at Loan Pronto. Wipe out all those cards, close in about 14 days, and cut your overall expenses by $500 a month or more. Right now, Loan Pronto is doing refis with APRs in the 4s. So call now to take advantage of this big rate drop. Get those credit cards to zero. Start that home improvement project, or rid yourself of that 7% loan you were forced into last year. Here's the number, 615-499-5780. That's 615-499-5780, or go to loanpronto.com. That's 615-499-5780. Equal housing lender, NMLS 166-1781, subject to lender approval, NMLSconsumeraccess.org.
Nashville Sounds Baseball is back March 31st. And if you haven't been to Third and Home on game day, you're missing out. It's the newest sports bar in Germantown that overlooks the Nashville Sounds ballpark. From the bar's spacious beer patio, you can see the whole Sounds game as if you were sitting in the seats with a ticket. No wonder it's known as Germantown's Bar with a Ballpark. Head to 3rd Avenue North for lunch, a night of brews, or to catch a game. Third and Home, open Tuesday through Sunday. Visit thirdandhome.com.
In football, we all take our hits, but protection keeps you in the game. That's why we always wore our helmet and our pads on the field. Life, too, comes at you with risks. So I got vaccinated and boosted for COVID-19. Hi, I'm former Tennessee Titans wide receiver Chris Sanders. Talk to your doctor and get the information that you need to make the informed choice. Gear up, Tennessee. Protect yourself and family against COVID-19.
More information at nflagearup.org/Tennessee.
Want to weigh in on the conversation? It's a brain booster. Slide into our DMs. Or just text or call at 615-737-1025. Our phone line is driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Having some fun in the midday.
Okay, that's really fun.
This is Caroline, Willy, and D-Mase.
It's a good source of energy because it's live.
On 1025 and 1063 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Now, I do not see one of those guys going. I mean, because Kyle Shanahan paid such a high price to get Trey Lance. He got hurt. It's not his fault he got hurt. Brock Purdy came out of nowhere like an alien spaceship, dropped him off in Santa Clara, and he's been a humongous surprise. And now, what if Carthon likes Jimmy G? Well, then Jimmy G's going to be an unrestricted free agent. It seems to me the Titans need a veteran quarterback because Derrick Henry played really well, as you know. And you got to maximize what time he's got left as premier running back. And so that's why I think they need a veteran like Jimmy G or Derek Carr. And Carthon knows Jimmy G really well. He played well this year before he got hurt. He gets hurt a lot. And so you never know. He may think that's the guy we need. Vrabel may agree. Or he may say, we need to draft the last player at the bottom of the 7th round, like Stetson Bennett or Max Duggan from TCU, and see if they can rekindle some Mr. Irrelevant magic that they've got going on in San Francisco.
There you go. That was John McClain on Stillman and Company yesterday, giving his thoughts on the 49ers' future at the quarterback position, because now the Titans are inherently tied to the 49ers. Of course, Ran Carthon coming in as the Titans' new general manager, coming from the 49ers as their director of player personnel. D-Mase, you want a quarterback. I know you want your quarterback bad, but you're out on Trey Lance. Don't want to give up the picks to get him.
No, I don't. If I'm going to give up picks, I want to go get my guy. Again, I want to go get someone that, me as a GM and as Mike Vrabel as a head coach and O'Hara as a quarterback coach go out and evaluate themselves and say, this is the guy that we want. This is the guy that we believe that can take our franchise for the next 15 or 20 years, and we are going to be, if not win a Super Bowl, we will be Super Bowl contenders each and every year based upon us drafting our quarterback. I can't see giving up, the picks necessary to get a guy like Trey Lance. And, he hadn't started off on the right foot. He's injured. Mm-hmm. And what did we say about John Robinson? Whether
Always
it was whether it was his doing alone or it was his and Mike Vrabel's doing, they were going to get guys that were injured. And why do you want to go back? I'm sure Rand don't want to go back down that same road of bringing in injured guys. Yes, he could come in and do a great job and be your quarterback, but then again, if it doesn't happen, people will point to he was injured when he got here or he had an injured season. You bring him back and look at what we get. So for me, if you're shooting for your quarterback, go draft him yourself. Do the scouting, which I know they will do and have been doing. Do the scouting, do the work. And if you deem that this is your guy and he's still there, then go get him. Or if you have an opportunity to go get him, move up in the draft a couple of spots and then get him.
I could argue Ran Carthon did do the evaluation of Trey Lance. Yeah. I can only expect. I don't know exactly whose decision that was to go all in on Trey Lance. Probably Kyle Shanahan, since he does have final say in San Francisco. I don't know how much Ran Carthon was involved in that process. But seeing as though, he's probably, top 5 within that organization behind Kyle Shanahan, John Lynch, Adam Peters, that he probably had a good bit of a hand in the drafting of Trey Lance and deciding to go for Trey Lance. So I could argue he did do that evaluation, and he is the new general manager, and he says, that's my guy. I want to go after my guy. Mm-hmm. I wouldn't blame him. And to that point about bringing in injured players, it's a totally fair evaluation of John Robinson. But I do think that there is a difference between, bringing in a 21, 22-year-old quarterback who had ankle surgery versus bringing in a 35-year-old Julio Jones who had constant and chronic hamstring issues. There's a difference between drafting Caleb Farley in the first round after he had back surgery and had, spinal fusion surgery. Those are all kind of different instances. But I hear you. I think a lot of Titans fans have really bad taste in their mouth about bringing in injured players. Rightfully so, because what did the Titans get from Julio Jones and Caleb Farley? 2 injured players. Big fat nothing. Mm-hmm. So I get it. I totally understand. Where I stand with it, I would love Trey Lance. Mm-hmm. From the very, very teeny tiny small sample size of what we've seen from him, I like what I see from him. He's decisive. He has a strong arm. He's mobile. So I like what I've seen from him. I would love a Trey Lance. I think that he would fit perfectly within this system. But I am not willing to give what it would take to give up and get him. The draft picks that I know it inevitably would take. And I was listening to Boston Radio earlier this week, and they were talking about it. Of course, there's a natural connection between the Patriots and the 49ers as far as quarterback trades are concerned. Jimmy Garoppolo traded to the 49ers from the Patriots. And they were saying, it would probably be a mid-round pick to get Trey Lance. And I thought, what?
Exactly.
There's no way that the 49ers, after giving up 3 first-rounders, would be willing to give up Trey Lance and the little bit that they've seen from Trey Lance for a 3rd or a 4th or a 5th-round pick. If that's what it cost, give me Trey Lance. Give me Trey Lance all day now that you've got one of his guys within the building. I think it's going to be absolute minimum 2 first-round picks.
Yeah, I can't see San Fran, moving away from Trey Lance for middle-round picks or, because of what they had to give up to get him. You want to at least get back what you had to give up, in order to draft him. I'm not giving him up for some 2nd-round pick or some 3rd-round pick. No, you want him? We got our quarterback, or we can keep him. He's still on his rookie deal. If you want him, you need to give up the picks to get him. And it's going to take 1st-round picks to get him, or 1st-round picks and maybe some guys that are currently on your team. But I just wouldn't, for me, I just wouldn't go down that route, because to me, I would want it to be a collaborative effort. And that's what we've been preaching the whole time. That's what Amy Adams said. That's what Vrabel has been saying. It's a collaborative effort between me, the GM, the scouts, and everybody else. So if indeed that's the case, I understand scouts do their due diligence on a particular player, and Rand had to have done his due diligence on Trey Lance, but maybe Vrabel didn't, maybe O'Hara didn't, because they were not in the business of drafting a quarterback a year ago or 2 years ago. I would want it to be, now if you go in and you look at his film and all of y'all, and y'all evaluate him and say, you know what, let's try to make a move to get Lance, but I don't want to give up the capital it's going to take. I would rather give up a little bit less and see how that goes. Well, at least you can say we tried, but we didn't want to give up the farm for someone else's quarterback.
And if you try and you're not willing to pay what it costs, fine.
Exactly, absolutely. But for me, I just think you have to find your quarterback of the future now. Can't wait till later, because the longer you wait, the harder it's going to get, and the further away you are going to put yourself from teams that have their quarterbacks.
But what if that is Trey Lance?
Yeah, I'm saying if it is Trey Lance, and everybody's in agreement, and everybody did their due diligence, including the head coach and everybody else, and you still deem, this is the guy, we want him here, then are you willing to give up the picks for that quarterback?
San Francisco was.
Are the Titans.
I don't know. Yeah. And that's what I think that they have to evaluate now that they have their GM in the building. And especially a GM a new GM that's coming from an organization that has done it. That traded 3 first-round picks to get Trey Lance, that traded a bunch of picks to get Christian McCaffrey. And Christian McCaffrey at least has paid dividends. So he's been in a front office that's been willing to go for it and do it. Are they going to be willing to do that here, given the roster situation? Because San Francisco, when they decided to give up those picks for Christian McCaffrey, was in a much, much different situation than the Titans currently are now. The 49ers could afford to give up those picks because they had their guy. They had their receiving core in place. They had their running back in place. I don't know what the San Francisco offensive line situation is, but it's certainly much better than what the Titans are dealing with at this point. The Titans have a whole lot of holes that they need to build up. But what's the priority? Is it go and get your quarterback now and build around him, or draft your pieces and then find your quarterback of the future? I don't know the answer to that question, but now they have someone in the building to be able to begin answering those questions. And speaking of questions, I have some questions about Rand Carthon, about his past and his resume and how that is going to affect the Titans moving forward. We'll get into that, all of that coming up next. And of course, your phone calls, your text, 1025 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
breaking news.
The Tennessee Titans are hiring San Francisco 49ers Director of Pro Personnel Rand Carthon as their new general manager.
Keep it locked to Nashville's best Titans talk, 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
At Genesis Diamonds, it's not just a new year. It's a new opportunity to bring you more choices, more value, more ways to celebrate your love. So we've expanded our selection of exquisite hand-picked diamonds from a half carat to 15 carats, all shapes, all sizes, all at our famous no middleman prices. This year especially, we know price matters, and we're committed to delivering the best value every day. We've also brought in even more exclusive designer jewelry, new cutting-edge fashion-forward rings, earrings, bands, bracelets, pendants, things you can't find anywhere else. And of course, Genesis is proud to offer a truly spectacular collection of luxury pre-owned Rolex timepieces. We have all the most popular models in stock with no wait list and no restrictions. Is this the year you reward yourself with a premier name and timepieces? Come to Genesis in 2023 and let our non-commissioned experts help you celebrate those important milestones. We guarantee the best value, the highest quality, and the strongest warranties and guarantees in the jewelry industry. Genesis Diamonds and luxury pre-owned Rolexes.
The National Wild Turkey Federation is celebrating 50 years of conservation delivery during this year's Convention and Sports Show, set for February 16th through 18th at Gaylord Opryland Resort and Convention Center in Nashville, Tennessee. Come celebrate the golden anniversary with members, volunteers, partners, and countless outdoor enthusiasts. You can expect the same great nightly events, quality entertainment in the watering hole, and the latest gear from more than 450 companies featured in their exhibit hall. For more info, go to nwtapp.org.
Do you take pride in your work? Do you want to help build Nashville? You need to join Ironworkers Local 492. They build Nashville, working on everything from steel erection on buildings and bridges, plant maintenance, concrete, reinforcing, conveyor work, sheeting, welding, rigging, fence erecting, curtain wall, window wall, and a variety of other specialty work. They provide the best skilled iron workers for contractors and projects in Nashville. You want to build Nashville? You want to be proud of doing it? Visit ironworkers492.org. Join Ironworkers Local 492.
Get in on the conversation at 615-737-1025. The game text line is driven by Wilson County Hyundai. Online at wilsoncountyhyundai.com.
You wash your hands, you brush your teeth, but how do you clean your nose? With Navage. Navage uses powered suction to pull saline in one nostril, around the back of the nose, and out the other nostril, flushing out allergens, mucus, and germs. And it's why cleaning your nose, the body's air filter, is the next evolution in daily personal hygiene. Navage helps you breathe better, sleep deeper, and snore less, but the biggest payoff is improved health. At Walmart, Walgreens, CVS, Rite Aid, Target, and online. Navage, N-A-V-A-G-E, clean nose, healthy life.
Can't get enough Vanderbilt basketball?
Intercepted right all by himself for a one-hand flush.
Your home for the Commodores is 93.3 Classic Hits.
Put it up. It's good. Count it.
Join Coach Jerry Stackhouse and his team on their journey through the SEC.
Pulls a trigger. Yes, from three.
Check out Vandy Hoops on 93.3 Classic Hits and the Classic Hits app.
Hey Nashville, this is David Price. You're listening to Nashville's best sports talk, ESPN 102.5 The Game.
Let me just say this. Let me go on the record, okay? I won a few games here, and I don't know what that is, but they say I'm the winningest coach in franchise history. That record is going to fall with this relationship between the two of them. That's how strongly I feel about Mike, the organization, where it's headed, and this hire.
There you go. That was former Titans head coach Jeff Fisher, who joined the program earlier. He worked with Rand Carthon in St. Louis and Los Angeles in their stint with the Rams when Rand Carthon was the director of player personnel with the Rams. Now, Mike Fisher could not have said any kinder words about Rand Carthon. I could literally hear a smile on his face when he was talking to us. He was gushing about Rand Carthon. And he says he thinks that this relationship between Rand Carthon and Mike Vrabel is going to be strong. And that's one of the biggest questions that I have about whichever general manager the Titans decided to bring in, is what is the relationship going to be like between Mike Vrabel and Rand Carthon? What is the power balance going to be like? Who has final say? The word collaboration has been said so much that I feel like it's lost its meaning in my head. But Amy Adams-Strunk and Mike Vrabel have both used the word collaboration when in reference to Amy Adams-Strunk and Mike Vrabel and the new general manager and what the say is going to be. But who has final say? Who ultimately says, we're looking at a receiver out of Western Michigan, and we're looking at an offensive lineman from Texas A&M. Who are we drafting with our third-round pick? Well, one may love the other one, but who has final say? And that's one question that I have. How is that relationship going to be navigated? This was Jeff Fisher on the relationship between what he thinks will be the relationship between Rand Carthon and Mike Vrabel.
His strengths are his communication skills and his work ethic. I'll say this to you guys, all right? Technology has changed this game. Everybody's got a report on a player. There's all kinds of stuff going on. And Rand is one of those guys that's going to watch tape. He's going to watch a player. He has that unique ability to describe a player to you. You shut your eyes and listen to him talk, and you'll know exactly the player at the end of the description. He's got an amazing memory, recall. In this world of player acquisition and draft and free agency and all those things, you need to be able to have a good foundation to draw from.
And that kind of leads me to my next question that I have about Rand Carthon. And it's a question that we are not going to get answers on. But it's how big of a role did he play in the 49ers' successful drafts and trades and free agent acquisitions? What role did he play in that? When you look at some of the 49ers drafts, and they've had great drafts. In 2017, they found George Kittle in the 5th round. In the 2019 draft, their first round was Nick Bosa, 3-time Pro Bowler, All-Pro this year, and then Deebo Samuel, who's an All-Pro in 2021. They found Brandon Ayuk in 2020, who had 1,000-plus yards this season. They went all in on Trey Lance in the 2021 draft, and then found Brock Purdy with the very last pick of the draft. The 49ers have had very successful drafts, but what role did Rand Carthon play in that? We don't know the answer to that question, but we're hearing Jeff Fisher there saying, he is so knowledgeable and so smart, and he is able to retain all of this information and gather all of this information about whether it's guys on a waiver wire, whether it's guys in college and that talent evaluation, that he is so smart and so good at the evaluation side of things.
Yeah, again, what hand did he have in, the San Fran, latest draft picks within the last couple of years that have built that team into a championship team?
We won't know.
We will never know. And, even if you probably asked Lynch on air or anything, he would probably defer to everybody else that had a hand in building that. He won't say it was me, I chose that guy. And that's what Jeff sort of alluded to. Like, Rand doesn't care who gets the recognition, and by him telling me that tells me that every the places that he has been, that has been the way of doing business. Listen, we don't care who gets the the fanfare or the claps or the recognition. We don't care. Only thing we care about is building a winning product, because if we build a winning product, everybody share in the wealth, not just Lynch or not just Shanahan. Everybody shares in it. So I'm sure there's a lot he learned throughout all of that process, and whatever he has learned, I'm sure he will bring it here to Nashville, and it will be seen, I think, immediately. But it might not look like what San Francisco did or what his previous teams or the Rams or any other team. It may not look like that because now this is his. He may take a lot of what he has seen and witnessed and been part of, but ultimately now it comes out as his, and Vrabel's and whoever else's. So, you know, the first thing they must do, I think, is, and Jeff said it too, is build up the bottom half of this roster. And it seems like that's sort of his forte, in a sense, evaluating pro players, bringing in those free agent guys that can fill holes, not necessarily be starters, but that can play a key role. And what that does is it helps builds up depth as you go through the draft and try to build your roster from the top down. So you can do it by free agency from the bottom up, but you can also do it by drafting from the top down. We want to draft our quarterback. We want to draft our left tackle. We want to draft that stud wide receiver. We want to get that stud cornerback. Those are guys that you're bringing in or drafting to be day one starters. So that's the top up. Well, what Rand is used to and what he's been, I believe, instrumental in is building the roster from the bottom up, the free agents and everybody else. So it's going to be, I think it's going to be, something to watch. It should be a perfect relationship. It should be a good relationship between he and Mike Vrabel, because I don't, regardless of what we may think about John Robinson, I think what we know, unless something else comes out, is that John and Mike had a really good relationship. So I don't see that changing any with Rand and Vrabel, because both of them, I think, want the same thing, and that's a championship football team.
And that's what Jeff Fisher continued to harp on, is he said, I just know that these two are going to have a great relationship. And I just know that they're going to have a relationship that's going to flourish. Mm-hmm. And to Rand Carthon and his involvement, that we will never know of what extent it was, of drafting and evaluating and trades that the 49ers have made, the free agency acquisitions, how involved was Rand Carthon in the decision to trade for Christian McCaffrey? I don't know the answer to that question. But I think the key thing here is, overall, Rand Carthon is coming from a really strong organization. Mm-hmm. And I look at organizations across the league. The 49ers are one of them. The Baltimore Ravens, the Buffalo Bills. I think that those are such well-run organizations that if you say we want to bring in a guy to kind of model our team, after that organization, those are three, not the only three, but three of which that I would say, okay, great. I would love for my team to look like that. So even, not knowing how involved Rand Carthon was in some of those moves, he at least is coming from that system that is such a well-oiled machine. I look at Joe Schoen, for example, who was hired to the New York Giants to be their general manager away from the Buffalo Bills. And now it looks like it's paying dividends for the New York Giants. They're going to the divisional round of the playoffs this year after years of being such an abysmal team. Because I don't know how involved Joe Schoen was in the drafting of Josh Allen. I don't know how involved Joe Schoen was in the trade for Stephon Diggs. But what I do know is that the Buffalo Bills are a very well-run organization, and that rubs off on members of that front office. And now it looks like it's paying dividends for the New York Giants. So that's the good thing, is you're getting somebody from a well-run organization. So whether or not they were super involved with the drafting of Trey Lance or the Christian McCaffrey trade, they have that influence from a well-run group.
Yeah, they do. It's sort of it's like a player, in a sense that, you go out and get in free agency. It's that particular player didn't put together the roster, but they did have a hand in, helping make that roster successful with their play. They understand what it takes to put together to put together a championship team, not by me going out and getting guys, by watching as a player the guys they went out and got with their, guys' personalities, guys, unselfishness, guys, things that guys are willing to do that don't nobody else see. I can go out and get a veteran guy that's won a championship, and then him coming here and me asking some of those questions like, What did they do at that particular on that particular team that made y'all so successful? That's what I would be asking a free agent that I bring in that I covet, because I'm hoping that he can bring some of those same attributes to my team, and that's the same with Ran Carthon.
And not only has Ran Carthon gotten good influence from a well-run organization in terms of roster building, in terms of drafting, but he also has influence from who I think is one of the greatest minds in football. How will that affect the Titans in 2023 and beyond? We'll get into that coming up next. And, of course, your phones, your calls, your text, 615-737-1025. Caroline, Willy, D-Mase, 1025-1063 The Game.
Want the latest on college football and Nashville sports?
He looks like 1,000 quarterbacks I've seen in a college game.
Join Outkick 360's Chad Withrow every Friday at 5 with Stillman and Company.
The coaching staff kept him and got rid of the other guys.
He'll bring opinions and charisma for a full half hour every week.
If he's so great in the locker room, then give him a coaching gig.
Chad Withrow is presented by Two Rivers Ford. Custom order your new Ford from Two Rivers Ford on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Now is a fantastic time to sell in Nashville, but you can't do it without the intel. And no one has better intel than the Gary Ashton team. You may be wondering, what is this intel I keep hearing about? Intel so you can sell your home without any staging or showings. Intel on where to find your next home so you can sell your current one while the market's hot. Intel that helps you win the buyer battle and cash in on your home equity now. Everyone else is getting the same information and competing for the same properties. GaryAshton.com gives you the edge with the best real estate intel in Nashville. No one else even comes close. Plus, the Gary Ashton team is the official real estate agent for the Preds. Get the confidence to sell your home and find your dream address without the stress. Call the Gary Ashton team with RE/MAX Advantage today at 615-301-1650 or visit GaryAshton.com. And remember, don't sell without the intel.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack. Sure, you can post your job to some job board, but then all you can do is hope the right person comes along, which is why you should try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter doesn't depend on candidates finding you. It finds them for you. Its powerful technology identifies people with the right experience and actively invites them to apply to your job. You get qualified candidates fast. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you what you're looking for. The needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. That's ZipRecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter.com/radio.
There's never a good time for your furnace to go out, especially in the winter, but it's always a good time to call Lee Company. Our heating and air conditioning pros are available 24/7. No heat? Don't wait. Call Lee Company now at 615-567-1000. Our expert technicians will diagnose the issue and fix it right the first time. When you're cold, you need someone you can count on to bring the heat. Call Lee Company now at 615-567-1000 or visit leecompany.com.
Some people got COVID and thought, well, that wasn't such a big deal. But you can get COVID again, and next time it could be worse, especially for those 50 and older, or with a chronic condition like heart disease or diabetes. But with an updated vaccine, you have better protection from COVID's worst outcomes. And that's a big deal. Find updated COVID vaccines near you at vaccines.gov. We can do this. Paid for by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
Start your day with a cup of Joe. Ugh, he's gonna think that's stupid.
Wait, what?
Robbie Stanley and Joe Rexroad are Robbie and Rexroad. There, that sounds better.
Thank you so much.
Weekdays from 6 to 9 on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app. Having some fun in the midday.
Yeah, that's awesome.
This is Caroline, Willy, and D-Mase on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Well, this is where I say Vrabel has the final say. Vrabel needs control over his staff, not Ran Carthon. And this needs to be a Vrabel-led, and it is, decision. Whereas you have a committee of people that were in a room with Amy Adams Strunk and the general manager candidates. In this case, I think it's a one-man show. Mike Vrabel interviewing who he wants to call plays. And we've seen the list. I'm curious about Bieniemy, because if he doesn't get a head coaching job, I wonder if he looks around and says, I need to go prove it somewhere else instead of with Andy Reid. And if that's the case, they have a real chance to change some things up. And I don't think Vrabel's married to one specific way of doing things offensively. He would run the wing tee if he thought he was going to win, and he would run the run and shoot if the same result would happen. So I lean more towards Vrabel on that than Carthon.
There you go. That was Jonathan Hutton, Outkick 360, who joined the show earlier. And another question that we have about Ran Carthon is what kind of changes are going to be made, not just on the field in terms of roster construction, but also with the coaching staff in terms of who he is going to clean house with. And Jeff Fisher said he's not the kind of guy that's going to come in and, just kick everybody out. And I don't think that's necessarily going to be the case. But we would be naive to think that there wouldn't be at least a few changes. Maybe some guys going out, maybe some guys coming in. And I look at the offensive coordinator position. And look, the coaching staff, that's Mike Vrabel. That is his group. He decides who stays, who goes ultimately. But I think it's interesting that Ran Carthon is coming in from the 49ers, which of course is a team that runs the same system that the Titans run, the Shanahan offense, the West Coast offense. The Titans need an offensive coordinator. And the Titans have requested to interview 2 potential offensive coordinators that don't run the Shanahan system, that don't run the West Coast offense that the Titans do run. They've requested to interview Chiefs offensive coordinator Eric Bieniemy and Chiefs quarterbacks coach Matt Nagy, both of which, of course, run the Andy Reid system, the Philadelphia, the Kansas City system. So is it the Titans hiring a general manager from the 49ers organization? Ran Carthon will have connections within the coaching world and will know guys that do run the Shanahan system, since he is coming from Kyle Shanahan and the 49ers, that could come in and be the Titans' new offensive coordinator. It's not up to Ran Carthon, who is the new offensive coordinator. It's not his call. It's Mike Vrabel's call, ultimately. So if Mike Vrabel does want to go outside of the system that they currently run, I don't know if he does or doesn't, requesting to interview 2 OCs that don't run the system would tell me he's potentially open to changing the system. But Ran Carthon will have insight on coaches that can successfully run the system and good coaches that do run the system. So I do think it's going to be interesting to see how the new offensive coordinator and how the offensive coordinator search changes or is conducted, considering Ran Carthon is coming in from the West Coast system.
Yeah, I think having his input is always valuable.
Collaboration.
But I think ultimately, because here's the deal. If this coaching staff isn't doing the job required, then it's not going to be Ran Carthon that gets fired. It's going to be Mike Vrabel. So if that is indeed the case, why then as Vrabel, I want to pick my own coaching staff. If Ran has a say in it, and his guy doesn't work, are you holding me accountable for your guy not working, or are you holding yourself accountable for your guy not working? Because if you're going to hold me accountable for your guy not working, your guy potentially not working, then I need to go find my own guy. I need to go get the guy that I believe fits what we want, what I want to do in my vision. And then based upon that, you as the GM, you evaluate these players and you get guys that fit the system that I have put together here with this organization. So if I'm Ran Carthon, work, all y'all get fired, and I don't want that to be a thing where he picked these guys, but you're firing me because his guys didn't work out. No, I'm the GM. I'm going to deal with the players. And ultimately, if my players don't work out, we saw what happened with the last GM. It will happen with me. It's just the way of life in the NFL. But if your coaches don't work that you picked out, guess what's going to happen? The same thing that would have happened to me, that would happen to me if this personnel is not the way it's supposed to be. You're going to get fired.
You're gone.
And you're gone. But I'm not going to, in a sense, go shopping, bring the food home, and if the food don't taste good or if it's outdated or something, blame you for it, then fire you for it. No. Go pick your coaches. I hope it works out. I believe it will. But if it doesn't, now that's your responsibility to either, one, fire that coach, or two, we're going to fire all y'all. But I don't want to pick your coaches. That's your deal, Vrabel.
And it's not that he would pick the coaches.
He can give him suggestions.
Give him suggestions of
Absolutely.
guys that he knows that runs that system.
Exactly.
And while, the GM isn't going to be calling plays, the GM doesn't pick the offensive coordinator. The offensive coordinator, I think, is inherently tied to the general manager because the general manager picks the players that will be playing in that system that the offensive coordinator runs.
I understand that, but
yeah.
if because all of them are tied to these players, regardless who, if the GM gives the go, you got to coach him, and all y'all are tied to him. But, I can't say if I'm about to say Jeff, but if Mike hires, I don't know say if Mike hires Matt Nagy, I can't, say, if you hire him and it doesn't work out, I can't, as a coach, it's like that was my doing. I can't blame nobody else for that. I can't look to the GM and blame it on him. No, that's my responsibility. So either I fire that OC in whatever year, or we're all getting fired. But that's not because of the GM. It's because of my hire and what we didn't produce as a unit for this Titans organization.
That's going to do it for us today. Again, the Titans have found their guy, Ran Carthon, new general manager of the Tennessee Titans. Stillman and Company is up next. We'll be back tomorrow at 11 a.m.
Peace.
You watch The Game.
Sliding across, making the stop, UC Cerro.
We talk